5. Oh, there it goes. Okay. I've never done a live like this. 5.
There's a little recording icon in the top now, so I think we're good.
Yeah, it says 000 for the time. Let me just make sure it's gonna go here.
Sure. Oh, it also says when the recording's done, you may need to stick around a little to upload your recording. So maybe
Yeah, so
when
it's
we're
like a live, it's like a live upload kind of a deal. Yeah.
oh, nice. Okay.
I think we're good. It's says 1 second now. I think there's a bit of a lag, but I think we're good now. All right, welcome to the dumbest, shittiest, fucking most piece of shit fucking podcast that's ever existed since the dawn of humanity. For a year and a half, I have been offering absolutely anyone that would like to come on the show to debate me in absolutely any way to come on my show. Just a little shout out. A long, long time ago, before I had the One Stupid Fuck brand, there actually was, I did kind of like a right leaning conservative type show, and it was just kind of bullshit. Really, it was like some fucking like garage horse shit, basically. Um, there was a guy, actually a communist, who came on my show, and I would like to do a little shout out to him because it was a situation where I was doing kind of the same thing, and I basically said, "Hey, if anybody wants to come and debate me," this was back in like the Trump versus Biden days of my life, just fucking horse shit, like totally fucking didn't know what was going on, just totally sucked into the fucking matrix entirely. And a guy named Jonathan. I want to make sure Jonathan Horn, I believe his name is. It was episode number 4. If you go on the Power of Curiosity podcast on my YouTube channel, it's an hour and a half presentation. It was actually really, really fucking awesome. To the point where I actually love the guy and I actually respect him a lot. And this was several years ago. And I just kind of wanted to give a little shout out to Jonathan Horn for coming on the show and having the balls. And I also want to give you, Yeager, a huge shout out for having the balls to even do this in the first place. So huge shout out to Yeager. A lot of people think I was going to come on here and just fucking go ballistic. I'm not. I actually have a lot of respect for this. So thank you for coming on the show. Chris, I don't know why you came in as a guest. Please check the chat box because you're going to have to leave and come back as not a guest, as an audience member, or I'm going to block you. Okay, that said, Yeager,
Oh,
you ready to get started?
yeah. Well, I'll just say it first. Thank you so much for having me, Brandon. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we've kind of titled this a debate, but hopefully it's more of just a conversation. I wouldn't say we're like deep friends, but we definitely, we've known each other. We've met a handful of times, and although I have some disagreements with your ideas, I like you as a person, man. And I really appreciate you being willing to have this conversation.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I'm super down. You're the first person that's ever actually taken me up on it. I've had a lot of people who just say, "Oh, I'd never do that," and I'm like, "All right." It's an open invitation, and I like when people actually take me up on it because a lot of people don't even believe that I'll even do it. So it's one of those things where it's like, no, look, like I've done it once before with Jonathan Horn. It was fucking awesome. Everyone should go and watch that show. It's actually really cool. And the same here. The same goes here. And actually, I get tons and tons and tons of messages of people who send me messages saying like, I tried telling my family about this, or I tried to tell them this about that. And they're just, it's like a mess, and it's just it's a total shit show. So I've also thought to myself like, hey, this would be a good opportunity for me to show what like actually two people can come together and share views, like how the world was 60 years ago before politics and the internet decided to destroy all that. Um, so yeah, so
Totally.
thank you, and that's why I wanted to record the show as well, because I did want to actually publish this show as an example of how two people can come together and speak on these subjects without this, hairpin political bullshit that we're experiencing in America that people think is so normalized.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've thought about it a lot, and I haven't. I don't think I've seen the debate you're referring to, episode number 4. But I have seen a couple other clips where some people got into challenging you, and I think the problem was they didn't really know where you were coming from. Um, and they didn't really want to hear where you were coming from. They were almost just asking a question to make a statement, right? What I would rather do, rather than debating like specific ideas or specific like you do this and then this happens, I just want to kind of like talk about like how did you come to these conclusions and what's your kind of mindset towards these things, and just kind of ask those kind of questions so that we can have a conversation more about more about the practices than the beliefs, if you will. Does that make
Well,
sense?
what exactly is it that you've seen that I'm doing that because your exact wording in the email was you feel that what I'm doing is harmful and dangerous. So so first thing I'd like to do is clarify that whole sentence. So first we're going to clarify as what is it that I'm doing. Second part
Sure.
is what is the definition of harmful and how is what I'm doing harmful? And then we'll go into what's the definition of dangerous, and then we'll go into how is this dangerous.
No, totally. Yeah. Well, I think in terms of what we mean by harmful and dangerous, I would say simply just that it could have an effect on other people that would be negative on their life,
Okay.
right? That's pretty much what I mean by harmful. And in the sense of dangerous, I mean that some of this stuff could have legal repercussions that might, both for you and the people that you're, suggesting do this kind of stuff. And dangerous in the sense of that would endanger them from, criminal prosecution or being sued or something like that down the line. So in that context, that's kind of what I meant by that.
Okay, and do you have any evidence or anything that would point towards anyone learning from my studies then getting in trouble with what they have learned?
Well, that's kind of what I'd like to ask you about, actually. And going into exact specifics, like I said, it's kind of like how do we debate this, right? Because if let's just to give an analogy, like let's say I believe in Anubis. I worship the uh, Egyptian gods, right? And you ask me, well, how do you know that Anubis is real? And I say, well, because it says so here in these hieroglyphs. And you go, well, that's, that's okay, but that's not a verified source of information. That's just some scratches on a wall. So we kind of get into this circular thing where it's a problem of what authorities of information do we recognize, right? And I think the fundamental difference here is that we recognize different authorities of information. um, if we were to make this a really short conversation, which I don't want it to be, either one of us could pull up stuff to justify what the other is saying. I could go, pull up the FBI website or pull up the IRS website or whatever and say, look, they're saying here that this is illegal. But if you don't really recognize that as a valid authority, then I think it's going to be more fruitful for us to just have a conversation about these ideas rather than me just try to throw things at you and you try to throw things at me. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, but the thing is that the IRS website and the FBI website is not the source material. The source material would be the United States Code, the Internal Revenue Code, which is Title 26 of the United States Code, and the FBI would also be operating off of the United States Code exclusively. So, I would not. I would counter any particular websites that would be shared. I know exactly what websites and what articles you're referring to, back to the source material, because the source material is the real deal. The thing is that what they what they say on the internet is probably protected under freedom of speech, and they're not necessarily as tied down as they are in the statutes themselves. Title 26 is very, very clear. The Internal Revenue Code is very, very clear. So we're talking already a lot about opinions and beliefs. We don't have any opinions or beliefs. I operate entirely out of the codes as though the codes are practically a religious text. And if I don't understand the definitions of the things that I find in the codes, I go to legal dictionaries or other sources. A lot of things that are defined in the United States Code are self-defined. Almost everything that you're going to find, or I would say maybe 90% of what you're going to find in the United States Code, they actually have definition sections at the beginning of each of the titles and subsections that actually define all of the words that are used inside that subsection. And you can go all the way back to the Bill of Exchange Act of 1882, and even 150 years ago, there was still a definition section at the beginning of the title itself. If you go back to the Sestakv Act, so 1666, I don't believe there was a definition section at the beginning of that. So I would assume definitions at the beginning of titles probably started somewhere in the 1700s or the 1800s. So this is not anything new. So all we do really in my club or group or whatever you want to call it, all we do is just simply go through those definitional sections. We actually spend more time in the definition sections of these titles, the construction of these titles, than we do in the actual titles themselves often. So I don't know how familiar you are exactly with what we're doing, but
Yeah, well, you said something there was interesting to me, and I saw that on your website as well. That you kind of, like you said, you interpret this almost as scripture. And you've used a lot of terminology like movement and enlightenment and new states of being and that kind of stuff. Like, do you consider what you're doing a religious movement?
I don't consider it a religious movement. Well, I mean, yes, it's a crusade by definition, but the thing is that I am not manufacturing or creating a religious atmosphere. Law itself is a religious atmosphere, and I'm involving myself and taking that religious atmosphere as seriously as they take it.
Okay, so you mentioned the law as a religious atmosphere,
Yeah.
but my understanding is there's a separation between church and state in this country. So how does that work exactly? That the religion comes into it.
Well, the definition, if you were to look up the definition of a religion or even the word cult, you can say that law is a cult, and I'd be fine with that. It's just that people believe that there's some weird definition of the word cult that means something very negative. Cult basically just means, a group of people that essentially, focus into or worship one particular point of it's like a pyramid and it goes up and there's a particular top to the ladder of the cult, whether it's a figurehead or whatever else. And the thing is that the United States Code and the Uniform Commercial Code and the Code of Federal Regulations, these are essentially the Bibles that are used in the legal world, and there is no greater figurehead, there is no greater authority than the original source material itself, to the point where the FBI crumbles, the CIA crumbles, the federal government crumbles, the Internal Revenue Service crumbles. And the thing that's so funny about all of this is that the FBI doesn't know what's in the USC hardly. The CIA doesn't know what's in the USC hardly. The ATF doesn't know hardly what's in the USC. The definition of the word firearms, even, is not something that I bet 99% of people in the ATF could correctly answer that question. So the thing is it's a situation where it is a cult, and I'm okay with that. It is a cult where the religious Bible, the text, is three particular sections. There are other subsections like corpus juris secundum, and there are other things that are really, really important and taken very, very seriously. But the spinal cord aspect of what we're looking at is the United States Code, which includes the Internal Revenue Code. Title 26 of the United States Code is the Internal Revenue Code. The Code of Federal Regulations and the Uniform Commercial Code, which is more of an international version of the United States Code. In fact, when you study the Uniform Commercial Code in a lot of depth, you will see almost everything in the Uniform Commercial Code is echoed in the United States Code. So I would go so far as to say that the UCC is actually the Bible, and then the United States Code would actually be like a sub Bible specifically for the United States.
Sure. Okay. Well, just to clarify, because that was a very comprehensive answer to my question. I just want to make sure I understood. Are you saying that you would say that the entire system itself is a religious system, or are you saying that your system is religious? I wasn't quite clear on that.
It's probably both. It's probably both individually. My crusade is a crusade of definitions. It's a different. It's along the same line, but it's different. It's sort of like a different crusade that's plugged into another religious activity.
I see. Okay. And would you say that like people that are involved in this have to have a degree of faith that this is, like if we're talking about a religious kind of aspect, there's always a degree of faith involved. Is that something that you feel is a part of your group?
It would be if there's only circumstantial evidence to prove something, there would be obviously like a certain aspect of faith that would be involved in the circumstantial aspect. But from my experience, this is an ongoing research project, and there's a lot of people digging right now. We find that most of the time, that circumstantial evidence becomes hard evidence within time. But obviously, just like anything else, circumstantial evidence must contain some level of faith, if it's something that you want to believe in that's true, or if you have some sort of idea or postulate or idea that, that there is something there, and then now you're navigating through evidence in order to find that particular thing. So it just depends on what your intent is, or what your idea is in terms of what are you already chipped off to something, or do you already have an idea of something, and then are you trying to prove it, or it just depends. It just depends. But yes, of course, there's always some element of faith. But the core aspect of what we're doing, the core aspect, the citizenship shifting and the nationality shifting and the locations of the various things. No, there is no longer any element of faith involved with any of the core aspects of what we're doing anymore. No, it's hard evidence.
Okay, sure. So, to your point, to kind of use an analogy, like in I think faith and science have a lot of overlap if you made a Venn diagram, right? Because when you initially start with a theory, you have to have a hypothesis for what's going to occur, and then you're going to try to produce an experiment to see if that actually results in that effect, right? So to a degree, you have to have a little faith that the thing you think is going to happen is going to happen. But I think where religion and science differ is that often in religion, you're seeking evidence that confirms your faith,
Yes.
whereas in science, you're seeking evidence that disproves it. And in science, disproving a theory is just as commendable as proving a theory.
Yes.
So would you say that, like, have you found anything that disproves your belief in this system or any aspects of it?
Well, I mean, at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and just do a screen share. I don't know uh, what aspects of my material have you actually seen or exposed yourself to in terms of the actual source material?
Well, I haven't done your contract killer course, but I've read probably 70% of your websites, your two websites, excuse me. I know you have the new one now. And I've done research into this kind of, maybe ideology is not the right word, but I guess you could agree that you're not the first person to undertake this kind of, to use these ideas or principles to try and do something with it. And if I understand that, the first time this kind of idea popped up was roughly 60 years ago, right? So, I'm curious, like, do you feel like you have something different that maybe other people that have tried to make a go of this don't have?
Well, yeah, of course. That's I hear that every single day. Every single day I get at least 1 to 4 messages stating, I've been trying to study this for 10 years, 20 years, 5 years. It's never made sense. Or another thing that I hear quite often is, I've been studying this for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and I've never been able to actually take action. That's the other thing I hear a lot. It's like, yeah, I've been studying over the theory and I've been studying over the information, but you're the first person I've encountered that has made it clear and made it exciting for me to actually take action. So yes, I do believe that what we're doing is very, very different, and I think the reason why it is so different is because of a complete and utter fixation of the definitions of words, and to make the definitions of the words as simple and as clear and as unconvoluted as possible, even if it takes months to clarify one particular definition, which we have done that. We have spent literally months clearing up just a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, because we dig through every single definition in every single dictionary we can possibly get our hands on.
Okay, yeah. A question on that, actually, on the subject of definitions. Words. My personal thing is that I'm frustrated that the only way we can communicate ideas is with small mouth noises, right? I say something, you check against your dictionary what those words mean, and then you have an interpretation of it, and vice versa, right? But I see that something that's an issue with that is that the definitions of words tend to change. If we take a word like, I don't know. Well, a controversial word would be the word gender. That means something very different today than it did 10 or even 10, 15 years ago. So how would you say, like, if you're looking at an interpretation of a definition and you're basing it on something that was, say, from 50 or 100 years ago, and the kind of modern definition of that word is different, then what do you feel lends towards your interpretation of the definition versus kind of the majority's interpretation of that word?
Two things. First off, in law, all definitions have all equal value in law. That's the whole basis of law. If you're in a courtroom, you can bring up a definition from 200 years ago, and it's just as acceptable as a definition that was created yesterday in law. Okay, that's the first thing. So factually, that's the truth of the matter in this particular arena. The second thing, the second answer I would have to that is intent. The newer definitions of a lot of the legal words have the intent to reduce our ability and freedom. The older definitions tend to enhance our freedom and ability. So I would say the senior aspect to a definitionary battle, so to speak, would be the final product or intent of the use of that definition.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. I guess where I get hung up is if you have an interpretation of these definitions that you feel is the kind of the most positive or the most the kindest interpretation possible based on these older laws that were more kind of for the people rather than for the corporations, if you want to put it that way. What happens if the judge that you're standing in front of making that argument to simply disagrees and is using the modern definitions that you disagree with?
Well, first off, judges can't practice from the bench. That's a felony. Second thing is that I would go after the prosecution, and plus there's a whole multi-level appellate system. I mean, you can go all the way to the Supreme Court. It's not going to happen overnight. I could care less if someone disagrees with my definitions. I really couldn't care any less. Couldn't physically care any less. I'm going to be at the bat. If I'm going to be up to bat probably 3, 4, 5 times with whatever it is that I bring to the table. Plus, keep in mind, jury trial is always an option. So if you know your shit as well as you think you do, you should be able to sway a jury. I could be drunk as fuck and dirty. I could roll around in a mud pit and I could have a bottle of Jack Daniels in my fucking hand and I will sway a jury.
Okay, sure. Well, I do think language is important, and our interpretation of language. Something I noticed that, when I sent you that email, I got like a response asking me to sign up for your course, and there was a statement you had in there. It said that I want to take you from a pathetic plaything all the way up to a king and queen. And I look at that and I go, to me, that language is a little problematic because it kind of alienates anybody that's not a member of your group already. So, like, is it your position that, you're saying anybody that's not with you on this is a pathetic plaything, and anybody that is a king? Is that kind of
No.
it?
In law, you are a minor until you are an adult, and the definition of a minor is someone who cannot handle their own estate. In corpus juris secundum, a lawyer is actually defined as someone who takes on clients, and you actually apply to a lawyer, right? So the exact quote, so I can pull it up here. The exact quote is client. So in corpus juris secundum, a lawyer or attorney is defined as one who a client by definition is one who applies to a lawyer. Clients are also called wards of the court, and then you clear up the definition of the term wards of court. Wards of court is defined as infants and persons of unsound mind. So a licensed lawyer represents you. You've heard the word represent. What that means is they stand in on your behalf because you are a child. Or a retard. You could be a child or a retard or both. Okay? And retard actually has a legal definition.
Let me just clarify because I'm a little confused. Surely you're not saying that anybody who needs a lawyer is either a child or a retard.
I'm not saying that. The law is saying that. I am not saying that. Whether I say it or not doesn't change anything. I could spend 150 grand right now and do a whole marketing campaign and rah and picket and sign saying that that's not true. Won't change the fact it is true. It has nothing to do with me.
I guess what I'm trying to get at here, I understand, what it says. I'm trying to find out, like, what do you think about it? Because, that
what
line
I think
from
doesn't matter. What I think doesn't matter.
Okay, well, obviously you have an
What
interpretation
you think doesn't
of the
matter and
information.
what I think doesn't matter. I'm not saying that this isn't a battle of what I think versus what you think right now.
That's
this
true.
Exact subject. If I was in agreement with you right now, we'd both be wrong.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
the
Let me.
thing is that we're talking about opinions when we should be talking about fact. The fact of the matter is, mental retardation has an actual definition, and the thing is that to take on a lawyer and be represented by a lawyer means that you are factually an infant, child, or retarded. Retarded actually has a whole definition. It's like I can't find it right now. It's like below 70, and like you can't even like really take on the responsibilities of daily life. Like you can't actually operate in life. You won't survive the day-to-day aspects of life without some kind of there's actually a legal definition that has to do with basically an incapacity to survive and to live your life on any plane of civil existence. And then some of the definitions also include like a specific IQ of like below 70, essentially.
Sure. Okay, yeah. So I think we keep coming back to like what the law says, and on this point in particular, I'll just restate my question because I'm more interested in what you mean by this. Because you said here, this is from again, just this is from your response to my, your automatic response to my contact form. It says, "I want to take you from a pathetic plaything all the way up to a king/queen." So what do you mean by that? Like,
I
what does
mean,
that
I
actually
mean the
mean?
fact that 99% of people going through their life, including myself, up until a couple of years ago, we behave and act in our lives as though we are infants or retards. And the main aspects of what I'm referring to is definitely our legal life, definitely our relationship with the world, our relationship with our life. Most people, including myself, go through life just trying to, play video games and just make things go by, or just try to acquire whatever it is, money or what we think is money for ourselves or whatever we can. And it's this, really kind of pathetic existence where, it's the dream of the Dan Blazarian life for ourselves, of which I have been doing most of my life up until, like I said, maybe about a year and a half ago myself. So the thing is that, but the way that the law views it is that, by taking on a lawyer, you're essentially incapable of handling your own existence. That's what it is. It's like, it's like hiring an accountant. Oh, I'm going to hire an accountant. It's like, are you hiring an accountant because you can't handle it, or hiring a mechanic? Are you hiring a mechanic because you can't handle it, right? Now the thing is that when you realize that you're living this life and you're hiring all of these different people because you don't know how to do and anything in your life hardly at all with any sense of competency, are you a child or a retard?
I think that's a pretty strong position. I mean, um, would you say that anybody that's not following this system that you're proposing fits into that category?
The law views you as
Well,
a
not the law.
minor
I'm
or a
asking what your
retard.
opinion is.
My
What's your
opinion
personal
is
opinion?
that it has nothing to do with what I'm doing specifically. It has nothing to do with my movement exclusively. It has to do with my movement happens to be one movement of many movements, of which assist people to no longer be considered infants, children, or retards in the eyes of the law. And the definition of what would create the difference between somebody who is a child, infant, or retard in the law is the ability to the actual literal definition is found inside the term responsibility. There's actually a lot of really fascinating definitions if you go way back, and it actually response ability. It literally means the ability to respond, and it actually goes back to law. And what it has to do with is it has to do with someone having a statement or a claim, and then because you're a child or a retard, you either don't respond to the claim or you can't respond to the claim because you're physically inept. So the definition of the word responsibility actually goes back to the legal definition of infant and retard.
Okay. Well, since we're on the subject of law, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your
Sure,
new kind of legal crusade here.
sure.
You mentioned, representation by a licensed attorney. Are you a licensed attorney with the California State Bar?
I'd rather be dead.
So okay, so no, and like so, I mean, the California State Bar obviously regulates the practice of law in the state of California. Them specifically, they have a section on their website about the unauthorized practice of law, which specifically says that if you're not a licensed attorney, you may not practice law in the state of California. How would you respond to that in terms of what you're trying to do here?
So that goes back to 28 USC 3002. You can type that into. There's so many things I could say on this. We'll start with the first one and we'll go from there if we need. I'll have 3 or 4 in my back pocket here. So the first one, 28 USC 3002. And then we're going to go down to, I like Cornell Law, but you could use whatever you want. It's a definition section in Title 28. If you scroll down to definition 15A, can you just read that for me so I know you're following along? Definition, it's this subsection 15 and then definition A. B and C is very complicated. I don't want to get into that right now, please.
Sorry, I'm not actually seeing your screen there, Brandon, if that's what you're talking about.
No, my screen sharing isn't working. You're going to have to just look it up on your end.
Sure. So this is kind of what I said at the beginning, that I'd rather not get into just me reading definitions off of a website. I'm here to like see what I want you to defend these positions to me.
So
like, what's your
United
interpretation
States.
of
So 28 USC 3002 subsection definition subsection 15 says United States means, and then subsection A it says a federal corporation. Okay, and then if I go to UCC 9-307. And I go down to subsection H, we're going to find out where is that corporation located. Subsection H is location of United States. Below that, it says the United States is located in the District of Columbia. Okay? So United States is a corporation, and United States is located in the District of Columbia. If you go on Dun & Bradstreet, you can actually find a business directory listing for the corporation called Government of the United States, and it has a filed DBA, which is U.S. government, okay? State
Sure.
of California is a sub-corporation of United States. State of California is physically located only and exclusively in the District of Columbia. So in order for what you just read to be true, in my case, I would have to be living in the District of Columbia. I would need to be, by definition, a resident, or I would need to domicile in the corporation called State of California. I do not residence, nor do I domicile in State of California, nor have I ever even stepped foot in State of California in my entire lifetime, this lifetime. I
Okay.
do not
Yeah, so I
operate
do
in State of
understand.
California. I never have operated in State of California. I don't residence in the State of California. I don't live in the State of California. I've never even traveled through the State of California in my entire existence. So I do not practice law in the State of California. Thus, I would not be privy or be within the jurisdictional boundaries of those particular corporate bylaws.
Sure. So clarify for me this then. I'll read this. This is from the State Bar of California website. It says, in California, only attorneys can practice law. When someone who is not licensed to practice law provides services that can only be performed by attorneys, that is called unauthorized practice of law. Unauthorized practice of law is a crime. So is your interpretation basically that because you're saying the state of California is not actually the state of California, but is a legal term that you are not practicing law in the state of California?
I'm not practicing law in the State of California. It's a fact.
Okay, so let me ask this: would you object to somebody filing a report with the California State Bar? And
By no means. No, fine. I file all the reports you want. I'll turn them into press releases.
okay, fair enough. So let me ask this as well. On your website, you're providing legal services, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a statement on the services page. I think it's important note number 1. It says, prices are non-negotiable and any attempt to get a discount or jerk me around will be met with the required security donation rates doubling.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned it as a price and then as a donation. Which is it?
What's the definition of price?
Well, the cost for a good or service.
Okay, it could be, it's just whatever. It's whatever you want to. Price and donation, I mean, you can use them interchangeably. We can go through all the different definitions of price and donation if you'd like.
Well, sure. I mean, I think we have kind of just a colloquial understanding of those two definitions of those words. But let me ask this then. Would you say that you require a donation up front before providing a service?
Of course. Well, until we start getting into litigation, that'll be different. I'll probably do like what other lawyers do and take a percentage of the earnings.
Okay. And you had something on there about types of payment you accept. You mentioned like, silver and stuff like that. But let me ask you this. You have this thing. I saw it on your Facebook page where you're talking about discharging of an auto loan, and that they basically can print out a check, or they can go onto their go to the website, and if they print a check, they send it, and it's got to have 3 zeros followed by their social security number or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you accept a check like that as a form of payment?
We are in the process of researching how exactly to restrictively endorse instruments in order to exchange them as per the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, Note Issues, Part 2. I believe it's the third sentence. I have not completely cracked that yet. The exact aspect of the Code of Federal Regulations that covers this is 31 CFR Part 328, specifically 328.5 and 328.6. So the thing is that, like I said on there, if someone has access to the ability to do an exchange of a restrictively endorsed instrument in order to exchange that instrument as per the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, Part 2, 31 CFR 328.5 and .6, then yes, I would be very, 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 very glad to do so.
Sure. Okay, got it. So, but as of right now, would you accept a check like that as a form of payment?
It's like I said, as long as I can exchange it, no, it's not exchangeable at this exact moment in time, because I just don't.
Okay, so
We are testing how to exchange it. It's very new. We haven't completely fully cracked. There are people that are exchanging these instruments. It's just that I don't have the proper lines in place to actually be able to do this through some sort of banking institution. That could change any day. And when
okay,
it does,
so
I will update the website.
great. So if you're not able to accept that as a form of payment right now, why do you think that an institution like a bank would accept it as a form of payment for a car loan?
The answer to your question is UCC 3-603.
Okay, but you just said that you wouldn't accept it as a payment because you don't have that figured out yet.
I don't unilaterally, so because I'm not a corporation, because I don't operate on paper in the District of Columbia, I am not forced underneath UCC 3-603. The auto company is forced under UCC 3-603, actually can be litigated against for damages as well. You can't litigate against me for UCC 3-603 because I don't operate in the state of California.
So you don't have to accept that as a form of payment, basically.
I
but they do.
can. It's optional, but it's not unoptional for any auto company or any bank or any finance company. It is not optional.
Okay, so then why wouldn't you want to accept that as a form of payment?
Because I don't have the actual mechanical means to actually get those promissory notes exchanged for Federal Reserve notes yet. We're getting pretty close, but I don't actually have the structural line. It's sort of like I don't have the supply lines. I don't have the roadways mapped out as to exactly yet how that's going to work. That is in progress. It'll probably be completed by the end of the year. I'll probably have those lines in place.
Okay, so you don't have that, but the corporations do have that line worked out?
They have to by law. Yes.
All right. So have you received like an official response from any of these loan companies or car companies or mortgage companies saying like, hey, we received your check. We accept this check and we will cash it the way that we are supposed to cash it per this law?
Yes, many, and but I only have one. We did a video recently, and we showed all of the letters and all of the original material, and we even talked about all the different phone calls with a guy named George. It's actually on my YouTube channel. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I've seen some of the letters that you've sent, but I haven't actually seen like an official response from a bank that says, hey, we've received your check and accept it. Do you have anything like that?
Yes, I can't do screen sharing. It's not working right now. In the George video, we have a million different examples, but I chose George specifically because so your definition of a success in this area is probably a little bit different than my definition of a success in this area. So let's just back up and clarify that real quick.
Sure.
Your definition of a success in this area is discharged loan. Okay, my definition in this area is a discharged loan while the credit source is still available to be used again and again and again. Okay, so there's when it comes to auto loans, it's not particularly applicable. we're way past just a simple discharge. That's like last lifetime. Now we're into like, how do we get the discharge but keep the account open to be used and discharged over and over and over again? And that's why I like the George video as an example for that. But if you scroll back on my Instagram, you will see tons and tons and tons of titles with the liens are all satisfied. Many of them wet ink signatures, by the way. If you zoom into the photo, you can actually see wet ink releases on those liens. Those were all done through the very, very simple 3-digit Social Security discharge that you're referring to. Now, just as a word of warning, that is not the primary method of discharge that I recommend. It's just the easiest one.
Sure. Okay. So, in the case of discharging a debt like that, who's actually paying the bill, right? Because somebody's got to pay the bill.
No,
and what are you paying that with?
What is the definition of pay?
What are you exchanging in? What are you exchanging for the amount that you sign that you say you owe?
It's the value of the portfolio of the promissory notes that you've manufactured by using your credit card and signing the receipts. Those are actually securities.
Okay, so but how does that work exactly? Like, if you're saying I'm taking a loan for, let's say, $20,000 to buy this car, you're paying it off with the loan as a security?
The original application that you so it comes back to the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, Part 2. Basically, the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, Part 2, Reserve Act. Federal Reserve Act. I like to go to the actual federalreserve.gov for this because it's like as source material can possibly be. So this is actually not from. They cut up the Federal Reserve Act and they put it in the USC. So you can actually find, like, especially in like I think it's Title 12, you can find a lot of the Federal Reserve Act cut up and sprinkled throughout the United States Code. But I just go straight to the federalreserve.gov for this. So Section 16, Part 2, application for notes by Federal Reserve banks. Okay. Now it says here, so what you're doing is you're applying for credit. You're applying for Federal Reserve notes. It says here, such application shall be accompanied with a tender to the local Federal Reserve agent of collateral and amount equal to the sum of the Federal Reserve notes that's applied for. Okay. It says here the collateral security thus offered shall be notes, drafts, bills of exchange, or acceptances acquired under various things, right? So it doesn't say that the application may be accompanied with a tender. It says the application shall be accompanied with a tender. Now, the collateral, it's saying here, the collateral security. The collateral security is the application itself. So when you sign, so the definition of a promissory note is a signed, written promise to pay. A Federal Reserve note, the word note means promissory note. If you go to the Bill of Exchange Act of 1882, in the definition section of the Bill of Exchange Act from 1882, which I'll pull up right now, Bill of Exchange Act of 1882, in the definition section, it tells you and clarifies this beautifully and very, very simply. It says here that bill means bill of exchange and note means promissory note. So a Federal Reserve note is simply a promissory note, no different than all the promissory notes that you manufacture when you sign all the receipts for the steak dinners or for your cars or anything else. When you buy a car, the second that you sign the paperwork to take on the payments of the car, that particular application becomes a collateral security that particular financing company goes and exchanges for Federal Reserve notes. So basically, let's say you want to go out and get a car for $80,000. The second you sign the application, you have already instantaneously discharged and exhausted the entire loan. The problem is that you've been scammed. You don't know that. They go and they exchange the value of the application for $80,000 in Federal Reserve notes as per the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, Part 2, and then you're paying a secondary loan on the car with Federal Reserve notes, which is a completely different type of promissory note that has absolutely nothing to do with anything.
Okay. Just so I understand, like if I just kind of put it into layman's terms, so is there the actual money passing hands here is only when they take your application, take it to the U.S. government and say, please give us money in exchange for this promissory note, and then the U.S. government pays them?
It's not the U.S. government; it's the Federal Reserve.
Right. Oh, sorry.
But keep in mind, 8 USC. Geez, I think it's 8 USC 8, 8 USC 18. Maybe it's 8 USC 18. So if you look at 8 USC 18, 8 USC 18 is very, very clear. Every single promissory note and bond and every single obligation, which has a legal definition, in the entire country is all obligations or other securities of the United States. So every single bill that you have ever received and will ever receive is actually an obligation of the corporation called the United States that's physically located in the District of Columbia. As per law.
I get it. Okay, so let me ask this then. If, let's say, everyone in the country were to do this, there wasn't a single person in the country who didn't know about this information, and everyone did it, right? How would that work? How would these companies, like, they're just going to get all the money from the U.S. government and take no money from the person?
The answer to your question comes from the 1933 Emergency Banking Act. And in the 1933 Emergency Banking Act, they set up this whole system during that time period. That is the time period where all the gold was taken, all the silver was taken. They switched the definition from lawful money to legal tender. Those are two completely different terms. Legal tender has always been promissory notes, and whenever and that's why Federal Reserve notes are considered legal tender, because they are promissory notes. UCC 3-603 states that all promissory notes are all equal, and that you can't actually deny if I send you promissory notes of any type, whether it's a Federal Reserve note or anything else, and you deny and you receive it and you deny the payment, as per UCC 3-603, that the original obligation is discharged and satisfied to the level where the definition of repayment and the definition of discharge are the same definition. So you say discharge, you think bad. I could use the word repayment, and it's the exact same definition in law. I repaid the loan. Even if they don't accept it, I still repaid the loan.
Yeah, I guess the part I'm just not understanding is, like, how, if everyone were to do this, where's the money coming from?
The
Like,
money
I
is
get that
manufactured.
this
So,
is-
so every single time, what's the definition of money?
Gosh, well,
It's very simple. If you don't know the definition, it's very, very simple.
okay, I mean, an exchangeable currency, that's a simple definition that we could give.
No, not at all. The definition of money is gold and silver coins. That is the
Okay, so-
only definition of money. There are no other definitions. Now, you said the word
per
currency.
what source?
That's
Per what
from
source?
Black's Law. You can go all through the Emergency Banking Act of 1933. You will see that everywhere. Oh, Article
Okay,
1,
but-
Section 10 of the Constitution as well. Very, very clear. No state shall make anything a tender but gold and silver coin. Article 1, Section
All
10
right,
of the
but-
Constitution.
Let me push back on that just a little bit, Brandon, because you're quoting a specific dictionary that is the Black's...
And the Constitution.
Black-
And the Constitution.
Okay, but you're saying no other definition of money is
Not
a
in this
real
country.
definition.
Not in this country.
Okay, so then how is anybody exchanging anything other than gold and silver?
That's the secret. That's the beauty. We aren't exchanging money. We're exchanging currency. It's a completely different definition. Banknotes, notes, drafts, bills of exchange, all of these fall under the definition of currency or legal tender, not money.
Okay, well then I guess I'll rephrase my question using that definition. I'll use the word currency instead of money to be more accurate here.
Okay.
In this case of discharging these loans and that kind of thing, if
Or
everyone in
repaying
the country
them.
were to
Or repaying them.
sure or
Same
repaying them.
definition.
If everyone in the country were to do this with, let's say, their auto loans, then where is the actual currency coming from?
So every single time you use your credit card, not your debit card, only your credit card, you are manufacturing a promissory note. You are by definition manufacturing a promissory note. You are manufacturing currency, and this is the actual technical way that the, quote, money supply, which just means the currency supply, is expanded in this particular country.
Yeah, that I do understand. And, when we get into credit and stuff, you could make the argument that credit actually predates currency, right? An IOU scribbled on a wax tablet or something like that could be defined as credit. So I guess where I'm going is like, at what point does the currency get involved? Because yes, you can make a payment with your credit card, and then somebody does get currency as a result of that. If I pay for something at the store with a credit card, they get money in exchange for that. But at some point in that cycle, I have to then pay the credit card company. So if I don't do that, where's the currency coming from?
No, you're not seeing the picture at all. So what it is all the bank is doing is taking your manufactured currency and exchanging it for Federal Reserve notes. That's all they're doing. They're not actually paying anything. All they're doing is okay, let's say you're in Hungary and you got a bunch of Italian whatever dollars and you want to do a currency exchange. You're exchanging the currency from Italy to Hungary, and then you're going to pay that particular institution an exchange fee, right? The banks is operating in exactly the same way. They're taking your promissory note, a Brandon Joe Williams promissory note, which has the same exact value in this fucked up banker world as a Federal Reserve note. They're both promissory notes. UCC 3-603 is very clear about this. And they're exchanging your currency that you manufactured for a different type of currency. That's all they're doing.
Sure.
So you are the bank, you are the banker, and you're by manufacturing the currency, you're actually the one that's creating the valuable consideration. All contracts in law have to have valuable consideration to be considered a contract by definition. So who's creating that valuable consideration? Is it you or is it the bank? And that's the key question that everybody has been brainwashed into believing that it's the bank. The bank has never, ever, 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 ever in the entire history of banking created absolutely any value for you, anyone you've ever known, or anyone you ever will know. You're the one that creates it. All they're doing is exchanging it.
I can see that, but let's say I go down to the store and I buy something for $1,000. The store owner gets paid. They get currency in exchange for my purchase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go back home, and over the course of however long, I pay the credit card company, and now we're back down to zero, right? So there's a clear line of exchange.
No. So they've taken your promissory notes. They've stolen. They didn't really steal them. You have to study what's called endorsing. Like on the back of your check, you see the word endorsement. If you study exactly how endorsement works, the definition of the word endorsement is the releasing of a security that basically describes how and where the security will be released. Basically, it's instructions. The definition of endorsement is written instructions as regard to the releasing of an instrument or security. That's the definition. Okay. So what's happening is that you're releasing your promissory note to them. Sort of basically the way that the law looks at it, the way that the contracts look at it, is you're gifting the securities to the bank. So you've already paid. Every single time you run the credit card, you've already instantaneously, by definition, repaid that particular transaction instantaneously. So if you wanted to break it down moment by moment, when you put the credit card into the machine, you produced a piece of paper. That piece of paper was written. That piece of paper was a promise to pay. Now, it has to have one other element for it to be considered an actual note. It has to have your signature. So if you have a piece of paper and it's right in front of you and you're at the restaurant and it hasn't been signed yet, you haven't repaid that payment. Once you sign it, you've now, by definition, UCC 3-603, you've now repaid that debt. It's already done.
But at that point, can we at least agree that from when I signed that thing, no currency has exchanged hands at that point? Right?
Yes, it has. You've just manufactured currency. That currency has now been transferred to the banking institution to be exchanged as per the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, Part 2. They've already done that exchange, and then they've already instantaneously released those exchanged funds to the vendor, and that's actually how the entire cycle works. And then what's happening is that you're gifting those securities to the banking institution. So the banking institution is actually getting paid twice on all transactions. It's getting paid once because you've gifted or given away all the currency that you've manufactured, as well as sent them an entirely different type of promissory note that has nothing to do with the price of fish, called the Federal Reserve note, you've actually paid 2 times. So for every $2 you spend, you're paying $4 on the banking institution.
All right. So, like, if I went down to the grocery store and I slapped a bunch of silver coins on the counter, they would, whether they accepted those or not, we could say that's money, right? I'm giving them something that has real value, as opposed to just a promissory note, which is just kind of this
Precisely.
not real thing that's really just a legal definition, blah 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 blah, kind of like
You're
that,
using
right?
you're using lawful money rather than legal tender. Yes.
All right. So then my question is, at what point, if this system exists to use a security basically, or a promissory note as currency rather than actually using money, then why would anybody pay for anything with money if you can just discharge it as soon as you buy it?
That, I mean, you don't. You don't. They're yeah. That's it. You don't need to. Now,
So, okay, so
I
in the
feel
wor-
like
let's-
the way that I feel is this. Look, I'm about ready to send in some contracts and some novations, and I'm about ready to set up all my accounts to where they auto discharge. I'm going to set up a limited power of attorney with my credit card companies to where they're actually allowed to restrictively endorse my instruments for me at the end of the month, and then just poof, my bills go away. But do I believe that I should be paying my financial institution for them delivering me a service of converting my promissory notes to Federal Reserve notes on my behalf and restrictively endorsing my instruments on my behalf? Yes. Yes, I do. I'm not going to pay them fucking 2 times for every single motherfucking thing I transact. But you bet your ass, I am going to write in that contract that I would like to pay some sort of an exchange fee. Yes.
All right. So if everybody did that, though, like let's say I'm renting from somebody and it's the person who owns it is just kind of a mom and pop organization. They're not some big conglomerate, but they're still a corporation, right? Mm-hmm. If I do this and I say, okay, my rent is paid, the payment has been made. I don't have to give you any money because we've exchanged currency. How does the person on the other end of that? How does how does the landlord, who's the mom and pop guys, how do they actually get paid for that?
Well, it all happens
actually pays
digitally.
them?
It all happens digitally. So the you swipe the credit card. You have a signature card on file. Okay, so you swipe the credit card whether you sign it or not. If you look in the card member agreement, it's very explicit. It says whether you sign it or not, it's basically as though it was signed because they used your signature as like a base digital copy of your signature. It's all in the card member agreement, right? So digitally, what's occurring is you're manufacturing a promissory note. That promissory note goes to the financial institution. The financial institution has something called a Federal Reserve window. They exchange that promissory note for Federal Reserve notes, and then they transfer the value of those Federal Reserve notes to the vendor, all within probably seconds, or not even, probably within a fraction of a second.
Right, but if everyone's able to do that, how isn't that the same as having unlimited money? If every payment I put on my credit card I don't actually have to exchange money for, is that
Yes.
not the same as just having unlimited money?
That's why I call it infinite money. You'll see infinite money on all my website and everything, and then I have a video that breaks all this down in great detail. And the most important part of breaking all this down is the different types of endorsements and how to do endorsements. Basically, that's really where the big secret is. And I explain that all in my infinite money video, which there's a link on my Williams & Williams law firm, and then it's also on my YouTube channel. The answer to your question is, look, I'm not here to be a moralist. I'm here to just follow the law. 1933 Emergency Banking Act states that every time I create a negotiable instrument, every single time I create a security, I'm supposed to be exchanging that security. I mean, really, if you want to go even farther with it, why is it that everyone only accepts one type of security? Why is it that people only accept Federal Reserve now? Do you realize that if I walk into a grocery store and I place silver coin on the table and they don't take the silver coin, as per UCC 3-603, I can take my silver coin back, take all my groceries, walk right out, and there's nothing they can do.
Have you tried it?
No. The thing is that, look, this is, we can get into micronations and all that kind of thing as well, but this is, we have a responsibility diplomatically, okay? I'm not going to go around and cause a massive fucking disruption and the police and all this stuff in some grocery store just to fucking prove a point. My point is that we have a responsibility to have good relations with our environment. Okay, that those good relations may get tossed around a little bit. For example, going and discharging an auto loan, and then the underwriter's upset. Fuck the underwriter. I'm okay with that. But some random fucking security guard and all this kind of thing, no. It's like the underwriter's supposed to know this information. Okay, the cashier at fucking Whole Foods isn't. That's the difference.
Sure. So what if the underwriter disagrees with you? What's your recourse? What if he says we're not going to
Litigate.
accept this?
Litigate. It's the easiest fucking thing in the world.
So have you had any circumstances where, have you run into a situation? You say you have it set up so it's just going to be automatic. Everything just disappears. I assume that's the current situation you're in.
No, I've discharged 400,000, but they closed the accounts. I'm getting the accounts opened back up again. They hired a lawyer, and I sent them a letter, and they sent me a letter back stating that never mind, we're not going to touch this. We're not going to report it. Just don't that letter is on my website. If you go onto my free contract killer sign up page on my website, and you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, it's a very funny name of the law firm. It's like Shardle and Shardle or something like that. Let me pull it up. Free contract killer course page, all the way down to the bottom. There's an image. Oh, hold on a second. Oh no, it's not all the way at the bottom. It's just a little bit above the bottom, and you'll see that there it's Sessions, Israel, and Shardle is the name of the law firm. And it says here, dear Mr. Williams, Sessions, Israel, and Shardle LLC represents Alltran Financial. Alltran Financial was the collection agency that $177,000 of American Express debt was sent to. It says here, represents Alltran Financial LP, Alltran, regarding the issues in your September 16, 2022 letter regarding your American Express account placed with Alltran for collection. While Alltran denies any and all alleged wrongdoing, Alltran has made the business decision to cease collection of the account. Alltran did not credit report the account. Contact me if you would like to discuss further. And I did actually email them. I said, thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much for your letter. I did not get a response.
I see. So as far as you know, are they pursuing legal action against you?
God, no. That's the biggest waste of money they could ever fucking do. No.
So they just kind of said, okay, we don't want to touch this and we'll just leave it alone?
Well, by definition, I repaid the loan. By definition. It's paid.
Right, but did they accept that? Like, did they say, hey, that's
Yeah.
fine?
Yeah, it's gone, man. 200K. It's
Okay.
gone. Now, they
Sure,
closed the account. Now, keep in mind, what's my definition of a success? Like I said earlier, your definition of a success is not the same as mine. That was a half success or a three-quarter success. Now, keep in mind, that was like a year ago. Now, for where I was at a year ago, that was a great success. Now, that's not a success in my book at this point. Like, if I were to go and discharge 200K tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, fine. But the real success is can we discharge the 200,000 and then keep the account open and do another 200K next month and the next month and the next month and the next month? Then you have an either higher level of success, which is like, do I have to restrictively endorse every single one of these bills of exchange and send them in every single month? Or can I get the credit card? Can I give them a limited power of attorney that I send to them through registered mail? And then now they're doing it for me and I can just fucking retire with infinite money. So now I have a whole nother level of success. So these are the two new levels of success. Now with the George video on YouTube, we've achieved the first level of success that I want to hit. Now we're going to that upper advanced level, which is where we can retire and it's infinite money.
Okay, just to clarify, because a lot of words in there. Success, we're talking about these different definitions. From what I understand, what you just said, per your definition of success, which would be 1, discharging the loan, 2, still having access to that credit unlimitedly.
Yes.
You have not achieved that, correct?
We have, yes. But we have to the point where we still have to actually operate the account manually each month. So I've hit that first level, and that actually is the George video.
Let me just clarify, just so I understand. So you saying you have discharged a debt, had the account stay open, you rack it up again, you discharge it again, you rack it up again, you discharge it again, and they don't close your account?
Yes.
So how is that different?
We have to manually discharge it every month.
By that, do you mean like you go
We,
in and you
we
send
have
them a
to
letter or
actually
something?
write, we have to actually, the definition of a check and the definition of order is the same definition in law. So we have to actually write orders on the bill of exchange to convert the bill of exchange into a check and then mail it in.
Okay, got it. Um, I think we can probably agree that at least some of this, right? Like you said, you haven't got this fully figured it out. It's not fully fleshed out. You still have some work to do. Research is ongoing, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we've got infinite money, bro. It's done. We just have to manually do it every month. I mean, it's a done deal, bro. We got infinite money.
Wow. All right. Well, let me ask this: if you realized,
Not money,
let's say, if you
currency, but I'm just, I should be as hard on myself as I am on you. So
it's
unlimited
hard.
currency.
I'm not going to beat you up about it.
Okay, unlimited currency.
If you had something that came up, like, because you're still doing research on this, if you had something that you previously thought was 100% good to go, if you found out, like, oh, actually, that's not how it works, we have to do this differently, how would you address that with your followers?
I do it all the time. I do it all the time. There's tons and tons, not ton, but there's some information in the contract killer course. For example, there's some old license plates that we've gone through probably 7 different versions of license plates. The explanatory statement that I wrote in order to get a full diplomatic immunity passport. Recently, I was trying to go in a sort of different direction. I was trying to get actually special issue passports. Didn't The more I studied, the more I realized that it's very commercialized. So I actually backed out of that, and you can actually see on my website. There's many different versions of the explanatory statement. The first several versions, we were actually going in the special issue direction, and then I came back to a fee passport. So it happens a lot. It happens with license plates. It's happened with license plates a million times. I mean, here's the. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
I
Can
can
you see
see
it?
your camera. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this is the newest one that we have now, and this is like fresh off the press. I haven't even put this on my car yet. My motorcycle has this, but my car does not have this yet. This is our brand new, hot off the presses, and this is actually connected to the explanatory statement that I give away for free on my Nation of the Amnesty Coalition page. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a link to the explanatory statement, and we actually talked to the Department of State about how we're actually going to be printing these and putting these on our car as part of the agreement in the explanatory statement. So, I have a whole stack of license plates, like probably this thick in my cupboard up here. Uh, I wouldn't recommend a lot of the older ones to be used. Like, for example, the first version of the license plate that I had was a license plate that had, I think it was 15 USC 1545, 18 USC 242, and 18 USC 241 on the license plate. That's back when it was all a learning process. So we went through that, and we went through all these other variations, and then I did state corporate state variations like this, where we just took the whatever random state and just put our private motor carrier DOT number on it, and this is what's on my car right now. It has been for, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. So but the financial stuff, bro, that shit, we've been very slow to dip our feet in this water, and the reason why is because they close the accounts so fucking fast, man. Boom. I mean, those accounts are closed, and sometimes, like especially with mortgages and stuff like that, they will file lawsuits, and even with some of the credit cards and stuff like that we've had, they've filed lawsuits and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
these
so
are
let me
these are
ask you on a
people who
follow
just
up to that.
yeah, these are people who
Um,
just kind of randomly send some shit in. I have no idea, and then they go, "Hey, I sent in some fucking random shit, and now they've filed a lawsuit on me or whatever." And now I'm like, bro, like, it's like, dude, it's like I don't know what you sent in. I don't know what you fucking said. They're calling you. I don't know what you said over the phone. Like, I don't, this isn't the simplest shit in the world either. So it's like I expect there's a lot of really stupid shit getting mailed in. But the thing is,
well,
is that, go ahead.
let me push on that a little bit. Earlier, you said that you have unlimited money basically solved, in that you're able to discharge all this loan. But now it's, well, there have been people threatened with lawsuits or threatened with this. So if somebody does your contract killer course and sends a letter to their bank per your instructions, and they get sued or evicted from their house, like, are you going to take responsibility for the situation that they're in?
No, I don't. I don't even charge for this. It's free information. So why would I? I'm no slave. I'm no
Right,
slave.
but you're telling them to do it.
I don't tell anyone to do anything. That's the beauty. If you actually go through all my material, you will not find a single part of anywhere in any of my material where I actually tell people to do anything.
So do you recommend that people do this?
I recommend that people study it and do whatever they want to do. I get messages all the time, every single day. Should I do this? Should I do that? What should I say here? And I always say the same thing. Write whatever the fuck you want. Send in whatever the fuck you want, bro. I don't tell them nothing.
Okay, but you just said that people must be sending in a bunch of stupid shit. So if you're promoting that you can help them do this, why wouldn't you just say, "Oh yeah, do this"?
Well, that's brand new. This whole Williams and Williams law firm thing is brand new. I mean, if someone wants
Oh, I'm
to
not
pay
talking
me
about
my
the law firm.
fees, oh no,
I'm not
I
talking
don't.
about the law firm.
I never said I never. I all through my contract killer course, I say don't fucking call me. I don't want you to fucking call me. I'm not working for you for free. I'm doing this, and if you want to fucking call me and give me your fucking bullshit, you're gonna pay an arm and a leg for it. I don't
Sure, but
ever tell anybody anywhere that I'm working for free because I don't work for free. I'm very, very transparent about that.
no, I'm not suggesting that. But you do have a website saying these things and saying that they work. Like
My
that is
website?
you are
No. My website is an educational resource, and I don't say that things work. I simply post. That's why I had George come on my show. I don't say we have infinite money. I say here, this is all the research that I have on infinite money. Here's an exact example of an account that we did get discharged through doing restrictive endorsements, and we were able to hold the account open. And then now on the next level is we're going to do a limited power of attorney to have the account self-discharge. It's not. I'm not saying that any of this works. I don't. I'm not trying to sell it. Like, why would I say that? I'm not trying to sell anything. Yeah, I'm trying to sell services on Williams and Williams. Now it's brand fucking new. But for the past year and a half, I wasn't selling a fucking thing. So like, why would I say, oh, this really works? Like, check it out. I don't give a fuck. I say it all the time, bro. The reason why all the cucumber shit and everything else, the reason why that even exists is because on my course, I'm like, bro, if you don't get it, if you don't understand it, if you want to ask me questions, go down to the fucking farmer's market and get a fucking big ass cucumber and jam that son of a bitch up your fucking ass because I don't give a fuck. Don't fucking call me. And people thought that was so fucking funny, and it was the funniest fucking thing anyone's ever heard in their entire life. And that's where the brand was born from. The whole brand is go fuck yourself. So you're telling me I'm sitting here telling people, oh, this really works. You should really do it. No, I'm telling them to go fuck themselves.
Well, that seems pretty contradictory to me, Brandon, because the whole conversation we've had, you're stating this stuff works, it works for you, and that other people should be doing it because it could work for them.
I never once said anything.
You've said it several times in this conversation, Brandon.
You asked me if we've had success on doing infinite money. I told you we did a video with George. He has had success with infinite money. I told you that there was a particular circumstance that I had with American Express, which got sent to Ultran, which got sent to Israel, Sessions, and Chartle. I have the original material. I just read it to you, and you can look it up on my website.
Okay, so then if you aren't promoting that any of this works, why do you have a website about it?
I'm not. You're saying that I'm promoting the fact that it works. All I'm doing is I'm doing things, talking about how the things work that I think they work, and then showing the results of what I've been doing. That's totally different. That's not a sales pitch.
Well, I think you're getting tricky with the semantics now because you can't say that I'm not promoting this when you are promoting this. You have a website, you have an Instagram, a Facebook page. A cursory glance at your Facebook shows 50, shows hundreds of people that say, "Wow, this is so great! Thank you for this information. This changed my life." Like by anyone's reasonable definition, that is you promoting this, Brandon.
Well, it's okay. So you're saying that I am going around on all of my material and I'm saying how to do things, that they should do things, and that it works. Okay. Now I counter that in a way where I never tell anyone necessarily specifically to do much of anything. It's all just educational. This is what I did. This is how I fill out this form. This is how you can fill out this form. People send me all the time. Oh, I filled out the WABEN this way. I filled out the Form 56 this way. Or I filled the fucking 1040 NR out this way. And I'm like, bro, like fill it out however the fuck you want, bro. Like I'm just a guy talking about my experiences. And then people attack me and they're like, that's not how you fill out the WABE. I'm like, bro, like, I don't fucking care, bro. I don't fucking care. This is the way I filled it out. If you want to fill it out, the Form 56, fiduciary responsibilities, going to the IRS. I filled out the Form 56 as me, as the fiduciary. Other people, they put Janet Yellen, the fucking Treasury Secretary, on the Form 56. Bro, who gives a fuck? I don't fucking care, bro. Put your dog's name on there. Put your fucking dog's name on there, bro.
All right,
Fucking
but
roll
at
it
the
up and
beginning of
smoke
this
it. I don't, you know what I
conversation,
mean? Like, I don't care, bro. Like, I don't fucking care.
okay, at the beginning of this conversation, you said that my opinion, your opinion doesn't matter because this is a matter of law. But now you're saying that this is just your opinions and people can do whatever they want. So which is it?
The definitions and the experiences and some of the procedures are law, but there is a line where even in law there are multiple ways. Technically speaking, if you put your own name on a Form 56 or if you put Janet Yellen's name on the Form 56, they're both totally legal options. Or doing a W-4 exempt or doing a W-8 BEN. They're both
Okay.
totally legal options. It's like one, what's better? You know what I mean? Like, well, I think that's where we start getting into opinion. Which one do I think is better? They're both
Okay.
totally applicable.
Right, but you're promoting a specific way of doing things. You're saying this is how I've done it and this has achieved
Yes.
success.
Yes. Now
Okay,
that is correct. Yes.
So by saying that, you are promoting to other people that they should be doing this. You have a whole course about it. And you are now
No.
offering to charge legal services to help people do this.
No, that's an
So
allegation. That would be by definition an allegation. That's not actually. You're connecting. It's sort of like because I'm driving a car, I enjoy driving the car. You would need to prove that. That's an allegation.
What exactly is an allegation? What did I say that was an allegation?
It's an allegation. The fact that the idea that because I am promoting something means that I am telling people to do it. Those are two completely disrelated pieces of information. You're connecting them.
Okay, so just to be clear, are you telling people to do this? Yes or no?
I am showing people what options they have, and I am showing people of what I'm doing and what I'm spending my money on, and I'm inviting people to look at something that I find very, very fascinating, and I do encourage the fact that people should study, and when they feel somewhat confident, if they want to move forward, I am supportive in that, yes. But the
All
thing is,
right,
I'm
and
not
you're
telling
offering-
people to do it. There's a big difference.
Okay.
There's a
But
grand canyon of a difference there.
You are willing to accept money to do this for people, right?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about that then. If somebody paid you your rate of $1,000 an hour or whatever it was,
Yeah.
you have a breakdown on your services page,
Uh-huh.
and it did not go the way that you thought it was going to go, and they got evicted from their home, or they got threatened with a lawsuit, or they got this or that, are you going to take responsibility for it at that point?
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay, and what would that actually look like? What would you do if somebody got evicted from their house as a lawyer?
Well,
as the
evictions are
representative?
really, really easy to fight. I would just file the documentation, file the affidavits on their behalf. I mean, it's the same exact system that I did with the Ultran, because Ultran was going in that direction, and I sent out some letters, and that died real fucking fast. So we didn't even get to litigation. I killed them so fast and so hard, they didn't even litigate, as you can see in the letter that I wrote.
Sure, but that's one example. Let's say you are doing this for people, and the repo man shows up and takes their car, and they're in Oklahoma and you're in California. How are you going to defend your client in that situation now that they don't have a car? Like, what responsibility do you take for putting them in that situation?
Well, it's the same. You could say the same thing about any lawyer. I would do the same thing any other lawyer would do. Send in documentation.
Well, it's a little different though.
Why?
Because you're not a lawyer. You're not a licensed attorney in the state of California.
I'm an attorney in fact. Go ahead and look that one up.
Right, but that's your interpretation of a definition. Per the state bar, you are not a lawyer.
No. Attorney in fact. Look it up. California law, federal law, everything else. What is an attorney in fact? If you go to Investopedia, fine. If you don't want to use Investopedia, then go somewhere else. I'm just going to use Investopedia right now for this exact moment. It says here, an attorney in fact is not necessarily a lawyer. Indeed, attorneys in fact don't require any special qualifications at all. They can be a family member or a close friend. Power of attorney may also be granted to more than one person. In such a case, it should be stated whether a simple majority or, anyways, that's all bullshit. So the thing is that, so now let's get into this. What is the definition of a lawyer versus an attorney in fact? Okay.
Well, real
the
quick.
thing is that a lawyer or again, like we covered earlier in corpus juris secundum, The definition of a client is someone who applies to a lawyer, a licensed attorney or a licensed lawyer, right? A client, by definition, is a retard or an infant or child. I use the word child because if you look at 1 USC 8, they talk about this whole infant child retard thing in more detail. Okay, so if you are a lawyer or an attorney, yes, you. So it's sort of like
Okay, so hold on.
they've sort of like cordoned off these words, because the thing is that there is no there is no there is no actual like situation, right? So just like I said on my website, you have 15 USC 1, which is very, very clear. And then you also have Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, which both of them state. And actually, I believe 15 USC 1 came from Article 1, Section 10. It talks about how, like, absolutely any meddling or fucking with a contractual agreement is highly, highly illegal. And in the sense of a corporation, it's up to $100 million in fines. And I believe it's 10 years in prison. It's huge, right? Now, that's why an attorney, in fact, uses a power of attorney, and they don't need any special qualifications at all. They don't need to be officers of the court, and they don't need to be licensed to practice law and get paid in any of the 50 unincorporated states.
Okay, so I will agree with you on that, Brandon. But if we're talking about definitions, okay, this is from the website UP Counsel. It's a legal website. It says, you're right, an attorney in fact is any person you select, including a spouse, child, relative, friend, or lawyer, who meet the following qualifications: a legal adult based on the laws of their jurisdiction. Now, it also says an attorney in fact doesn't have the authorization to file legal actions or to represent their principal in court. An attorney, in fact, has the right to make decisions for another person who's been granted those powers. However, this title doesn't allow you to practice law unless you're representing yourself. So per that definition, you are not allowed to represent anybody other than yourself in any legal matter.
And that's exactly why on my website I don't represent anyone, because the word represent is attached to being a child or a retard. That's exactly what I don't.
Well, hold on, because now you're getting into semantics again, Brandon. If you're taking money in exchange for providing legal services,
no, this is
you
semantics.
are engaging.
This is semantics. And no, that's not true, actually. That's actually not true. The definition of represent, now look, we have two words here, and it is a problem of semantics. You're saying to get away from semantics, we need to go exactly towards semantics. You have two different words here. We have the word represent, and we have the word agent, right? Now, they mean almost the exact same thing, you would think, but they don't. They mean wildly different things. Represent means standing in the position of, because the person can't stand there themselves. An agent means that you're assisting someone else to stand on their own 2 feet. It's completely different. So yes, everything you just said is true. I can legally charge and operate as an attorney in fact and write documentation on behalf of other people. But naturally, I mean, even beyond what you just read, even if that didn't exist, I would still operate this way. I want people who I am the agent for on behalf of my principal, I want them to read the documentation. I want them to understand the documentation, and I'm probably going to have them sign the documentation as well. I will sign the documentation as the agent. The principal also needs to sign the documentation as well.
All right, hold on, though. You're getting way off into the weeds now. Let's just go back to the original statement here. This says, this title doesn't allow you to practice law. You are practicing law. You have a law website. You're offering legal services.
Well, hold on a second.
Law.
What is the... Well, first off, what website are you... You're looking at some, like, lawyer website. It's protected under free speech. They can say whatever they want.
UP Counsel.
UP Counsel is a law firm or something. It's the worst place to look at this information. You need to go to the source material.
Okay. UP Counsel is a large website that has information about laws. They cite their sources in here. If we want, we could go through all these different sources, but I think that's a fruitless argument.
No. You'd be shocked.
Look, hold on now. You're saying, per your interpretation, this says one thing, and you're saying you're not representing somebody. But can you at least agree that you are practicing law? You have a law website, and you are offering legal services. That is practicing law.
Let's just assume, maybe, possibly, that I am. I'm not practicing law in the state of California.
But you are practicing law, which you do not have, you are not authorized to do as an attorney in fact.
In the state of California, yes.
No,
Let's
any
assume
state.
that. No,
In
I'm
any
not in
state.
any of the 50 states. They're all corporations. There's two different states. There's California Republic, which is the original name for the state when it was actually made part of the Union, and then there's State of California. State of California is a corporation that's located in the District of Columbia. They have corporate versions of all of the 50 states. All of those corporate versions are all located in the District of Columbia. I'm not practicing in any of those,
But
and I
that
never
is
will.
your interpretation.
No,
And
I
would say that the
I have all
California
the.
State Bar would disagree with that, Brandon.
Well, the California State Bar, they're just a club. They're just a private club. They have nothing. They actually don't have any real. First off, and second off, yeah,
Yes,
of course, because
they do.
they want to. No, they don't. What is
The
what
California
is the
State Bar
what
has
is
the right
the
to license people from the bar exam, and they have the right to authorize people to practice law or to stop people from practicing law if they're
No, they
practicing
do
it
not.
unlawfully.
No, they do not.
Right? I mean, I could cite 1,000 cases by a simple Google search of lawyers or attorneys who have lost their licenses and are barred from practicing law.
You don't need a
That's a
license to
fact.
practice law. There's tons and tons
You
and
do
tons
need a
of
license
people.
to practice
No, you
law.
don't. So if that was
It's-
true, if what you were saying was true, then every single conservatorship in the entire country would not exist. Conservatorships are attorneys in fact. They are not generally attorneys or lawyers. They're attorneys in fact. So what you just said
They-
factually is false. It has to be.
Those attorneys are acting under and in coordination with this definition, which says an attorney, in fact, is an agent who is authorized to act on behalf
So
of another
how is a
person,
conservator?
but isn't necessarily authorized to practice
So
law.
so
And-
is a conservator practicing law?
Well, I mean, we could dive into the
Let's
things
do it.
regarding
This is
conservatorship,
it,
but I think
yes.
that's a fruitless
Because
argument.
if they're not, then tell me what the fuck are they doing, Yeager? If they're not
the question
practicing
is,
law,
what are
then what
you
the
doing,
fuck are they
Brandon?
doing? No,
We're
tell
not
me. I'm
talking about
curious.
these hypothetical situations with a conservatorship. The fact is, you have a website, you are offering legal services, and you are not an attorney.
Okay.
That's a fact.
So it's also a fact that conservators practice law. So you tell me where the problem is here.
You do not have the ability, per this definition, per the California State Bar, per any state bar in any state,
To operate
To
in the
practice
corporate
law.
states. Yes.
Or
to
to
practice law in the
represent-
corporate states. And I
or
don't
to
represent anybody.
represent anybody other than yourself.
I don't represent
If you-
anybody.
You offer litigation services on your website, Brandon.
As
That
an
is the
agent.
definition.
As an agent, not as a representative. Two
Okay, but
completely
you
different
can
words.
say that, but that doesn't actually give you the ability to do that.
Of
Just
course it
because
does.
you state it on your website. Well, anybody can say anything. That doesn't make it true, Brandon.
Well, file a complaint. They'll never touch me. File all the complaints. Go do a whole PR campaign. File all these complaints. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Seriously.
Okay.
I will publish this recorded fucking episode, and I will tell, hey, go out and file all these fucking lawsuits and complaints. They'll never go anywhere. Because I don't
enough.
use the word represent. I use the word agent. Because that's what I am. I don't represent people, and I never will. And it's not because of the stupid fucking law. I could care less about the stupid fucking law. It's because to represent someone makes them a child or fucking retard. I don't want to deal with children and retards. So I don't represent people. It's that fucking simple.
Yeah, but we're arguing about the definition of agent versus represent. The
that's
fact is you're
what
practicing
this
law on
is.
behalf of
No.
another person.
No, that's these definitions you're saying. Oh, that's what this is. That's what law is. Law is the battle of definitions.
Okay, but you're disagreeing with the
you're going
definitions from the
into-
California State Bar.
You're walking
You're just
into a
saying those are
gunfight
wrong.
complaining about guns. Literally, right now. That's what you're doing.
Okay, so I'm saying per this website, per the California State Bar,
Yes.
you are not a licensed agent. You do not have authority to practice law, period. And you're saying, well, I
No,
disagree
no,
with
no,
that
no, no, no.
definition.
Whoa. Now you're way off in the weeds. I do not have the right to practice law and represent people within the territorial boundaries of the corporation called State of California. Yes, that is true.
Okay, but again, that is your interpretation of what the state of California is, and I'm saying that
That's
the
not what it
bar
says.
would disagree with you.
That's what it says.
It says here. Look,
If
this
that
is what
was
it says.
true,
It doesn't
if
say
that
in the
was
state
true,
of California.
If that was
it
true,
says,
conservatorships wouldn't exist. I'm going to go back to that same thing over and over again. What you're saying can't physically possibly be true. It's an impossibility because conservatorships would not exist in this country. It's physically impossible, Yeager.
I'm going to read this again. It says, in California, only attorneys can practice law. What about that do you disagree with? You're saying California.
I'm not.
You're
I'm
saying
not
it's
saying.
the state of California, and that's a different thing. But
Yes.
that's not what this says. It says in California.
No, 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 no. They only
attorneys
have
can
no,
practice
no.
law.
They only have jurisdiction in the corporate states, and they can say whatever they want on their websites, protected under the First Amendment. So it's not. They don't have the jurisdiction outside of the District of Columbia. And we can get into that, but it's going to be
again,
a long
that
thing.
is your interpretation.
No, no,
Brendan.
no,
that
no,
has
no, no.
not
I've
been
got no,
upheld
no, no.
in court. If
No,
you
no,
go
it has
into the
been.
state
It
bar
has
right
been.
now
No,
and
no, no,
say,
no.
I am practicing law as an unlicensed attorney,
No.
they will say that that is the unauthorized practice of law, which is a crime.
The state bar is not an authority. They're an authority
Brandon, but
inside
that's per
of the
you.
corporate
It says
element.
it right here. Like,
It's
I
just-
get you're saying it's the corporate element, but what about so then what is California? If it's, you're saying the entire...
There's two
the-
different Californias. There's the California Republic, and then there's the state of California, which is the corporation located in the District of Columbia. It's a sub-corporation of United States, which you've already shown.
Okay.
I've already shown you the evidence on that fact.
Right.
That United States
All
is a
right.
corporation, and it's located in the District of Columbia. Now, let me ask you a question. If
Sure.
United States is a corporation, and United States is located in the District of Columbia, and I've already shown you absolute irrefutable proof on that fact. Why?
It's not absolute irrefutable proof, Brandon. It's
Whoa, you got to be, whoa, now you're just going off the deep end. UCC 3-907. Really? It couldn't get any more fucking black and white, bro. Let me read this
Brandon,
again to you.
these are your interpretations.
no, no,
These
no,
have
no, no.
not been upheld.
No, no, no.
Show me
Okay.
another lawyer who's practicing law in the way that you're describing and that the state of bar is okay with.
All
Show me somebody like that.
conservatorships, all of them. That's the answer to
But
your
that's
question.
different, Brandon, because
Okay.
they're operating per the definition of an attorney in fact.
I am as well.
No, you're not. You're offering to go to court. You're filing legal documents on their behalf. and you're
Conservatorships
saying-
can do all of the above.
Okay.
Now, I'm
But
going to
that's
read
not
this.
what you're
UCC,
doing. You are
I'm
not
gonna
a
read this again. Now, hold on,
conservatorship.
hold on. Let's back up. I'm going to read this again. Now, you tell me what part of this extremely simple part of the Uniform Commercial Code I don't understand, or how I'm somehow interpreting this. You please, I would love to hear this. This is where things
Well, hold
are
on.
start getting kind of funny. No, 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 no. I
I'll
want
do
to hear
that,
this.
but I
wanna hear
want
this.
to clear. I just want to
UCC
define one other thing before we get
9-307,
there.
location of United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. Please tell me how I could possibly interpret that in some strange way. I'm so curious, Yeager.
Okay, well, if we're gonna do that, I'll pull up something here. This is from.
No. Let's start this off, please. I'm so curious because I'll tell you right now. Here's how this is going to work. If the United States is in fact located in the District of Columbia, we can
But Brandon,
safely assume
That has nothing to do
that
with
state
California.
of
You're saying the
California.
United States
Now
exists.
hold on.
You're saying assumption. You just used the word assume.
Yes.
So you're
okay,
telling me
fine.
to make an interpretation of this
You
exact
can't.
definition.
Well, hold
but
on.
now
You
you're
can't assume that
assuming.
it's not, though. It's
No, I'm not assuming.
circumstantial.
I'm pulling up an exact definition. I'm reading it to you, and you're saying, well, I disagree because this other thing says this, but yours
Now,
is based
hold
on your
a
assumption.
second. Yes, but hold on a second. If you look at Dun & Bradstreet and you look at the business directory, you're going to see that U.S. government is a business and state of California is a business. Okay. Now, if you look at the original name for California when it was actually introduced into the Union, it wasn't state of California. It was California Republic. So you tell me, why are there two different names? You tell me, why is state of California listed on Dun & Bradstreet? You tell me why it says location of the United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. The thing is that the Bar Association and the federal government does not have jurisdiction outside of the District of Columbia. So what they did is they created these corporations and they tricked everybody into saying that they're in these corporations so that they can get jurisdiction, okay? And there's a lot of jurisdictional related things in the United States Code that we can cover to go over that. It's a lot of material. We can go into that if you want to.
Okay. What I'd like to do actually is just define conservatorship because you brought that up a couple times, right?
Okay.
So it says Under U.S. law, conservatorship results from the appointment of a guardian or protector by a judge to manage the personal or financial affairs of another person who is incapable of fully managing their own affairs due to age or physical or mental limitations. So you are not a conservatorship over anybody that you are offering legal services to.
Yeah, but you
cannot
don't
keep
have to
saying
be.
that a
It doesn't have to
conservatorship.
be. No, you're finding one particular definition because there's a lot of conservatorships that are not appointed by a judge. You don't have to be appointed by a judge. They're all over the place. I don't need to like go on some fucking huge thing to
All
go
right.
and find them. They're all over the place. There's tons of them. They're
So, but a
all over.
conservatorship, let's take out the judge definition, though. I'll read you another definition. A conservatorship is a form of legal guardianship of an adult. That is not what you are offering. You are offering legal services. You're offering litigation. You're offering to file legal documents on their
It's
behalf.
the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
It
It's
is
not the same thing at all.
How is it not the
It's
same
not. Because one, this says the personal or financial affairs of another person who is incapable of fully managing their own affairs
thing?
due
How
to
is
age,
their legal
physical,
how
or
is their
mental
legal situation
limitations.
not personal or financial? I mean, if you think about it, almost
that's
every
not-
single lawsuit is financial.
You are not representing yourself as I will be a conservatorship for you. You are saying I will represent you as a lawyer.
No, I will represent you as an agent. I'm very
But
clear.
you are not an agent of the law.
I am an agent of the principle, yes, and I can do that as per Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution and 15 U.S.C. 1.
You can say that, but will it actually hold up? If you go to
Yes,
actual
yes.
court with
I'm-
somebody
I'm
and walk in there,
referring-
the
you're-
judge is going to
you're
laugh
pulling
you out of
up-
the courtroom, as they've done 100 times with other people who've tried the same stuff.
No, that's not true at all.
There's YouTube videos, Brandon. You could look it up.
There's
dude.
YouTube
Other
videos on
people have-
everything. There's YouTube videos on everything. I could
Right,
find
so
things on
what
YouTube
about
to
the
support
other
my
people?
side, and you can find YouTube to support on your side. What I'm saying is that I'm sitting here quoting the Constitution. Literally says, we're going to pull it up right now. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. Now, I would say that there's not a whole lot of documents and not a whole lot of source material that is better for a situation like what we're doing right here on this show than the Constitution of the United States. Would you agree with that, or would you disagree with that?
Sorry, state that one more time for me.
For this particular situation, we're going over these various things. Would you say there's probably not a whole lot, if any, documents or written material located anywhere that would be a better, more clear, and more intense source material than the Constitution of the United States? Would you say that's false or true?
I would disagree with that in part, only because it's not just the Constitution; it's the interpretation of the Constitution that we rely on. That's why we
Okay,
have
so
Supreme Court judges.
let's interpret this particular section of the
No,
Constitution. Article 1,
not
Section
your
10.
interpretation,
No.
Brandon. I'm talking
I'm
about
gonna
the
read-
law's interpretation.
I am going to read the source material. I don't care about a bunch of people who sat in a courtroom trying to figure this out. We're going to read the source material,
Judges and lawyers.
and then we're
Legal
going to
officials.
read the source material ourselves, because I believe you and me both have an extremely high level of intelligence. And personally, I think that you and myself are substantially more intelligent than most lawyers. So yes, we're going to read the source material
Oh, I
right
don't know
now
about that.
together. We're going
I
to
won't
read
toot
the
my
source
own horn.
material together, and we're going to have our own little powwow on what the interpretation of this says. I don't want to hear anybody else's opinion. I want to go straight to the source. So here we go. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. I'm gonna take out some of the words here, and I'm gonna just make it. You can read it yourself, obviously, but there's a lot of things in here we're gonna have to go and clear up. It's not the simplest thing in the world to read, so I'm gonna read just certain section here. It says, "No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any bunch of other shit, right?" And then it says here, hold on a second. Where's the part? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Below that part. State, foreign power. Let me see here. This is... What is this? I think I have the wrong document here. This is weird. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. Here we go. Congress.gov. That's a great source. We'll go down to Article 1, Section 10. Here we go. This is Congress, constitution.congress.gov, which, frankly, I would rather have like a original paper copy if I could, but in terms of source material, it's pretty fucking good. It's a government website. So here we go. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. We're going to skip that part. We're going to go straight down to no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contracts. Now I kind of took some of the words out, so you can go ahead and take a look at it for yourself. There's a lot of other things in here. This one is where the definition of money comes from. It says here, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debts. So that's where that particular point comes from in terms of the definition of money being silver and gold coin. There's information in here about a lot of different things. So I'm skipping a lot of that, okay? And I'm just reading the first three words, no state shall. And then I'm skipping down to kind of the center part, and I'm putting make any, and then I'm skipping to the part where I'm talking about, which is law impairing the obligation of contracts. Now, this particular point of the Constitution is echoed in 15 U.S.C. 1. If you look at 15 U.S.C. 1, it's very, very clear that every contract, combination in the form of trust or otherwise, or conspiracy, in restraint of trade or commerce among the several states or with foreign nations is declared to be illegal. Every person who shall make any contract or engage in any combination or conspiracy hereby declared to be illegal shall be deemed guilty of a felony, and on conviction thereof shall be punished by a fine not exceeding $100 million if a corporation, or if any other person, $1 million, or by imprisonment not exceeding 10 years, or by both said punishments in the discretion of the court. Now, I'll tell you right now, there are not a lot of penalties in the United States Code. I've never seen one. Even international terrorism, slavery, peonage do not have this large of a financial penalty associated with it.
Just to clarify, because that was, some very specific legalese with a bunch of it half removed. What exactly are you saying that states? What does that mean to you?
There can be no law or anything. Now, the thing is that there's two different countries at play here, okay? There's the United States, which we've already defined as a federal corporation located in the District of Columbia, and then there's the United States of America, which is the 50 republic states that all have specific names that you can find on like Wikipedia or whatever. A lot of them are like Texas is the Republic of Texas, but a lot of them are like the territory of, or like New Hampshire territory or something like that, right? So they have all their own names, which is the name of the actual state. And then you have the corporate version, which is always the same. It's always state of California, state of Arizona, state of Nevada, this kind of thing. All of those corporate states are located in the District of Columbia. 15 U.S.C. 1, for a person who's filed as a U.S. citizen, which means that they live in the District of Columbia, a U.S. citizen, United States citizen, which means the definition from 28 U.S.C. 3002, location UCC 9-307, subsection H. A U.S. citizen, by definition, is someone who lives in the District of Columbia, okay? So the thing is, if you're filed as a U.S. citizen and you state that you're practicing law in the state of California, which is a corporate element, 15 U.S.C. 1 wouldn't necessarily apply to your situation. But there's an entirely different nationality that you can simply sign up for. It's very, very easy. And it comes from 8 U.S.C. 1101 subsection A21, and the term is called national. A national is someone who does not live in the District of Columbia. So if I don't live in the District of Columbia, I don't practice in the District of Columbia, I don't practice in state of California, 15 U.S.C. 1 would apply, because it says here specifically, in restraint of trade or commerce among the several states. Now, when you clear up the word several, it doesn't mean several meaning 7 or so. Several actually means distinctly separate, and it's actually just a normal definition. You can find it in normal dictionary. You don't need to go to a legal dictionary for that one. So the reason why I say that is because all of the 50 original de jure non-incorporated states, as you know, because most people know this information, they're all like their own separate little countries. Like the states were their own. There never was this whole idea of United States as a conglomerate. Yes, there was a federal government, but all the 50 states were entirely independent of one another. And that law system is actually still functioning today. Now, the state of California, state of Nevada, the corporate versions found on Dun & Bradstreet, all of those states all operate in the District of Columbia. They aren't separately legal. It's a completely separate country. So the thing is that the bar is a private club that has a fucking contract with a corporation called United States. They have jurisdiction over all the people who attempt to say and that they're practicing law in the corporate states, such as state of California. I do not fit any of those categories. I am not legally a U.S. citizen. I don't live in the District of Columbia. I have nothing to do with the District of Columbia. I have gone through every single contract in my whole life, my driver's license, my passport, all the tax forms, everything under the sun, moon, and stars for like a year. And I cleaned up all of those contracts to state that I'm not a U.S. citizen. I went into the Social Security office and forced them, almost by threat of litigation, to change my status from U.S. citizen to other, which is the other status that you can choose in the Social Security Administration. So the thing is that I am a national. So that means I don't live in, nor do I domicile in, nor am I a resident of the corporation called State of California. So the thing is that I don't have anything to do with State of California. I've never even been in the State of California.
Yeah,
I've never even driven through it.
On this point, Brandon, I'd say you've articulated your argument very well, and I think we're going to end up just agreeing to disagree, because we're coming back to kind of the way we opened this conversation, which is on what authorities do we recognize, right?
Now, I would like to say that everything that I have just talked about, I have documented evidence of all of it. I mean, my passport, I've been very clear. I have shared copies of my passport. I've shared copies of the original application. In my course, the way that I teach people how to fill out the application, as well as the explanatory statement that I use to get the passport that I have, is all open source information. It's everywhere. Everyone has it. Those are the documents that I used. I did get a passport. I do have a passport, and I have supplied evidence of the fact that I have a passport. I did go into the DMV. I switched out all the documentation. I signed it completely differently. I removed the fact that I'm a resident of the state of California by signing it in a special way that removes that particular designation. All of these documents, the only place that I had a bit of a hard time with was the Social Security Administration, but I was able to hammer it home and get that document completed. I do have a copy of, I believe it's the SS5 form with the original stamp from the lady at the window at the Social Security Administration. So this is not some pipe dream where I'm walking around and I'm not getting all of these documents and all of these things done and released. And I'm here, I'm speaking very, very openly about everything that I'm doing. And I've been doing it for a year and a half, and I have absolutely no litigation. Absolutely no difficulties, nothing.
Yeah, so I'm not actually refuting the passports and any of that stuff at all. You're right. It is possible to do those things. Those are legal things you can do. The part where we disagree is I don't think, and actually maybe we do agree on this, I don't think that getting any of those passports or diplomatic or whatevers or license plate or anything of that allows you to not pay taxes. And you yourself has said that getting those passports is not really a requirement to do any of this other stuff you're saying. So it's kind of a moot point to bring up the passports and all that stuff, because it doesn't actually have any cohesive connection to everything else you're doing, per your own words.
No, it does, because the thing is that the passport is the official moment when you no longer are legally on paper located, domiciled, or a resident of the corporation called United States, and also the corporation called State of California. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't just say that you don't live there. But the thing is that you have to think about it this way. You signed a fucking DS-11 passport application form under penalty of perjury, which is a felony, stating that you are a U.S. citizen. Then you turn around and you tell people that you're not a U.S. citizen, you're not located in the District of Columbia. If that were to become some sort of a legal situation, that's easy. If I was the lawyer, I'd be like, yo, so you're either a fucking felon on this end or you're a felon on this end. Which one do you want to choose?
Yeah, I get that. I would just say that it's the same level of simplicity in relation to claiming that you can provide legal services. It's like I said,
No,
I
no,
think you.
no. It's linear. You want to have a linear. If you're not a fucking U.S. citizen, you don't live in the state of California, you don't live in the United States. Why would one document under penalty of perjury say that that is true, and one document under penalty of perjury says it isn't true? You're lying somewhere. You're going to fucking prison somewhere. So the thing is that can you tell people that you aren't these things while having a passport that says that you are these things? Yes. Who's going to stop you? But the thing is that's risky, bro. So like, yes, technically speaking, I tell people like you can do whatever you want, bro. I've never heard of anyone getting busted for this and getting hit with a felony ever. It's never happened in the entire history of any of these movements. Okay. But at the same time, I do recommend that people exercise some caution. And I don't necessarily recommend that you go fucking totally ballistic without at least sending in, even if you don't go and do the whole passport over again, even if you just write up an affidavit and you just mail it into the passport records office and just say, hey, put this affidavit in my file. I can't handle my passport fully right now because I don't have the $350. But for right now, I want to let you know there's a bit of a novation on this. I'm not living in the District of Columbia. I'm not living in the state of California. I'm not a resident. I don't domicile there. I've got nothing to do with it. I will do the passport again here soon. But for now, here's an affidavit. Mail that thing off registered mail. Okay, like at that point, I feel like it's a little bit less risky legally to start doing something. Okay. But the ideal situation, in my opinion, is that you clean up some of these things, at least submit the DS11, at least submit the new one, get it at least signed and submitted. And, it's like ideally get it actually released to you and get the actual new passport, because now you've signed under penalty of perjury that you're a state citizen, you're a national, you're not a U.S. citizen. So the thing is, a U.S. citizen would be located in state of California. A national would be located in California Republic. So the thing is that if I was filed as a U.S. citizen, my website would be very risky. It'd be very, very risky because it's like, yo, your file is a U.S. citizen. That means you live in the state of California. What are you doing practicing law in the state of California? Oh, shit, right? But if you're a national, you don't fit that definition. You're actually what's called an internationally protected person. You're actually a foreign national. You're a foreigner to United States. I don't even legally live in the United States. And that's covered in 18 U.S.C. 112. It's covered in 18 U.S.C. 956. It's covered in the definition of foreign government, 18 U.S.C. 11. So the thing is this is a very, very clear cut and dry situation. But the thing is that, even regardless of all of that information, I would never, ever say that I would represent somebody. Because I don't want to represent anybody. I want to be their agent. I want to assist other people to stand on their own two legs. So it's sort of like a pro se litigant, and I'm just like basically assisting them to be a pro se litigant, essentially, kind of. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I get that. Like I said, I think you've articulated your argument about that well. I think we disagree on a few of the. I think where it comes down to is we disagree on the source of the information. I don't disagree with the U.S. Constitution, but I do disagree with the interpretation of it that you're using. I'm not refuting the fact that you can get, you can submit these forms and get yourself made not a citizen or whatever. I'm not refuting that actually. But I am refuting that because you've done that, you don't have to pay taxes, you don't have to pay your bills, and you don't have to be a lawyer to operate and practice law in the state of California. That would be my position.
Well, we've already cleared up so bill means bill of exchange.
No. I understand. I'm not stating this as a. I think it'd be better if we kind of move past this because I think we're just going to keep coming back to this same point.
Well, the taxpayer thing, we haven't talked about that yet. So the taxpayer thing is actually by far the most cut and dry thing. So what is the definition of the word taxpayer? That's obviously the first question. You know the definition?
I'm sure you're going to give it to me. What do you got?
So it comes from 26. So Title 26 is the Internal Revenue Code. So the whole Internal Revenue Code is Title 26.
Real quick, sorry, quick interjection. It looks like some people in the comments are saying they can't hear you. Maybe just check with them, make sure everybody's hearing.
You're hearing me, right?
I hear you just fine, yeah. And it looks like we've also got two other guests in here, David and JB. I don't know how they
it's all right. That's on their own end. I don't think that's a problem. And this will be recorded, obviously, so we can release it.
Okay, perfect.
Watch it later or whatever. That's
sorry for interrupting you.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
So Title 26 is the Internal Revenue Code. So anytime you hear 26 USC or 26 CFR and then like any numbers after that, it's always referring to the Internal Revenue Code, which is the tax code. Okay. So if we go to the definitions for the construction of the title of that code, which is 26 USC 7701, and we go down to subsection 14, we have the definition of the term taxpayer. It says here, the term taxpayer means any person subject to any internal revenue tax. Pretty simple, but it's a little bit different than what most people think. The definition of taxpayer is somebody who is within the jurisdictional boundaries of somebody who would have what's considered the legal definition, a tax liability. Okay. So a person is located or involving themselves through whatever legalities or location of domicile or residency. If they're located in a certain way or operating in a certain way in law, they would be by definition under the jurisdiction of Title 26. And then by definition, if they're under the jurisdiction of Title 26, they'd be by definition a taxpayer. So a person who is not within those particular jurisdictional elements would by definition not be a taxpayer legally, to the point where I can't even, well, I'll show you why I'm not a taxpayer, but I couldn't, it would probably be illegal for me to even say that I was a taxpayer. That would actually technically be like a fraud. I'm fraudulently representing myself as something that legally is not possible. It's like basically like signing under penalty of perjury that I live in state of Nevada. It's illegal because I've now lied under penalty of perjury. So if someone asked me to sign under penalty of perjury that I am a taxpayer, if I were to sign that particular document, I could go to jail for up to 1 year or more than 1 year.
Yeah, quick question, just to make sure I'm clear. So you do not pay taxes, is that correct?
I do not have a tax liability legally, and I'll explain how that works.
Okay.
I'm not a taxpayer legally. After having done quite a bit of work to put myself into that condition, I am no longer legally under the definition of 26 USC 7701 subsection 14 definition of taxpayer. And you can probably find that same definition on a lot of the tax forms as well in the back.
I get that part. So, but factually, do you pay taxes? Like,
I do not have a tax liability. I'm not a taxpayer.
So you don't pay
legally.
taxes.
I do not have a tax liability.
I get what you're saying. You don't have a tax, but are you paying them?
Would you pay a bill you never got?
But do you pay taxes on your income?
I don't have a tax liability. You're asking a question that's sort of colored in a certain way. The question that you're asking assumes that I have some sort of bill or liability. And what I'm saying is that assumption would be an allegation, which is false, and I can prove it, and I can show you why. Because the thing is that I don't have a liability to begin with. So let's break this down.
Well, let me just clarify.
No. Do you pay your taxes? Okay. So first off, the definition of payment is the extinguishing of an obligation. I could actually restrictively endorse a tax bill, and I could send it back the same way that you can send back the credit cards and you can discharge IRS tax liabilities like they're fucking nothing. The easiest organization in the world to
restrictively... If only Al Capone knew about that.
Yeah, if the easiest organization in the world to do a restrictive endorsement on, they accept them like water, and they're fucking dehydrating in the fucking desert. They're so excited about it. Is the Internal Revenue Service. They accept. You could write a couple lines on your tax bill, mail it in. Oh God, they're so excited about accepting the fucking payment. They're so excited about extinguishing the obligation through your repayment of your tax liability. They're thrilled. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is that in order for do you pay your taxes, all right? The word your, okay? So what you're saying is you're saying that the word your implies a tax liability. So the thing is that the answer to the question is no, because the thing is that first off, I never got a bill in the first place. I don't have a liability. And second off, if they wanted to send me a bill, I would just endorse the goddamn thing with a fucking restrictive endorsement. So the thing that by definition is paying. So if I wanted to lie on tax forms to create a tax liability and to make myself a taxpayer, and they sent me a bill, I could repay that bill by endorsing the bill and mailing it back. But the thing is I don't even get the bills in the first place. That's my point. Okay. So you say, do you pay your taxes? I don't have a tax liability. That's the answer to the question. That's the answer to the question.
I got your answer. So let me ask this then. If everyone in the country did that, let's say every single U.S. citizen in the country did what you just said, and they say, I don't have a tax liability, I don't have to pay taxes, then who's paying any taxes?
Before 1913, all America was built without federal income tax. So So your question implies that there's some sort of terrible importance behind it. I
Hold
don't
on. No,
know,
no,
and I
I'm
don't
not talking
care.
about 1930. I mean, in the present day, if every
Yes.
single person in this country did what you are saying you're doing, who would be paying taxes?
Nobody, and there'd be no reason to have them there. There's no factually from 1776 to 1913 there was no taxes. Well,
There was no,
there was small little state taxes and stuff, which I don't
but
know
you're not
that
paying those either.
no. Well, I don't live in the state of California, so why would I pay a
Okay,
state
so then
tax?
if everyone was in your situation, who would
Yes,
be paying taxes? Nobody.
nobody. Now
All right, so
you're
hold on,
saying
hold
that now.
on.
Hold on, you're inferring that's a problem.
Well, let's talk about how it is a problem.
Okay, how is it a problem?
So if we break it down just on a simple tax, we have taxes on the things we buy. We have taxes on the roads we drive on. I mean, I'm from South Africa. I tend to think that the U.S. tax system is completely fucked. I would agree with you on that point.
Okay.
I prefer the value-added tax system, which is basically that you pay for taxes when you purchase something and when you exchange for goods and services, and you don't pay any income taxes or state taxes or road taxes or anything like that. So the costs of all these, structure and maintenance and that kind of stuff is just built right into the value added tax. Now in this country it's a little bit different. We have a lot of other things going on. But if everyone in this country didn't pay their taxes as you are doing, then there would be no money going back to the government. And if they're also discharging all of these tax liabilities back to the government, you would eventually get to a point where there's no actual currency or money or anything being exchanged, and it's just paper flying around everywhere.
It already is. You're already living in that world, my friend. You just never knew it.
But there is actual exchange occurring of something
You're
from one
manufacturing.
person to another.
No, you're manufacturing a promissory note, you're gifting it, and then paying with some other random ass note on top of that. You're paying twice. So the out exchange is actually on the financial institution, not on you. You're
Okay.
paying 2 times for every. So this actually gets 10 times worse than what people think it is. Okay, so first off, you work your ass off, then you pay FICA tax, then you pay Social Security. You pay into your Social Security, then you pay. For example, if you're in Los Angeles City, you pay a 1% Los Angeles City tax if you make over $100,000. Then you pay state tax. Then you pay sales tax. Then you pay your federal income tax sliding scale. And then you pay whatever taxes, gasoline tax, liquor tax, cigarette tax. Then on top of that, you're manufacturing currency, and then you're giving that currency away for free to the financial institution. And then you're taking the money that has already been taxed at 30 or 40% illegally because you didn't realize the definitions of the words, and you've located yourself on paper in the District of Columbia, and you're now paying this bill of exchange that's come to you that you're not even supposed to be paying because you're actually the source of the whole entire goddamn thing in the first place. On top of it, it's madness. It's absolute, complete. It's worse than psychosis. It's unabridged, unmitigated, out of control madness.
Yeah, I mean, I agree the system is mad, but the part that I'm not getting here is if everyone's doing what you're doing and nobody's paying taxes, how does this flawed system we live in even work? Because if we both agree the system is horribly flawed, but it does operate the way it does, right? And even if it's all a scam and it's all a trick and it's all a racket, the racket has been running for the past couple hundred years, at least, or maybe since the 1930s, let's say, right?
Well, no. Hold on there, Buck Rogers. So 1871 is when the government was converted from a non-incorporated government to the incorporation we now know as United States, and then later the District of Columbia came into play and all that kind of thing, right? Now 1913 is when the Federal Reserve Act was put into play. I think it was ratified in 1911 and then fully implemented in 1913. And then you have the Emergency Banking Act of 1933, which removed all the gold and put us on this totally psychotic promissory note insanity that we have now. Okay, so we've had a few big flags in the ground. Okay. And the biggest one, and the one that really should be delineated as basically an entirely new country, is the Organic Act of 1871, the incorporation of the United States government. Prior to 1871, it was a completely different. I would go so far as to say it was a completely different country. It was a completely different structure. It was the structure where the states were considered individual countries, and the states had all the jurisdictional power, which you still see in the sheriff's office, obviously, right? And the federal government was just kind of like this little nobody. The incorporation of the United States government is when that sort of flipped in the other direction.
Sure, yeah, I would tend to agree with that. But if I could just put it in the simplest terms possible, if tomorrow everyone stopped paying their taxes, the current system as it is set up would not be able to function for very much longer. Can we agree on that?
No, absolutely not. I don't agree with
Okay,
that.
so then how in this system, assuming everyone in the country was doing what you're doing, how would it operate?
It would
How would the
operate. It
government
would
pay
operate
for
like a
things?
socialist republic. It would operate like exactly how it is stated in the 1933 Emergency Banking Act. We all create promissory notes out of thin air, and then they're exchanged for Federal Reserve notes. Now, when you actually go and read the Emergency Banking Act, they say right in there that's why 18 USC 8 18 USC 8 talks about how every single debt instrument in the whole country is an obligation of the United States. 18 USC 8 comes from the Emergency Banking Act of 1933. They say in the Emergency Banking Act, don't worry, we're going to take all your gold and all your silver, but don't worry, we're just going to allow you to manufacture all the promissory notes you want, and all your bills are all going to be our responsibility. And people were like, hey, fuck yeah, bro, let's sign me up, bro, yeah. But then like nobody got the memo or something. I don't know what happened. But basically, like since 1933, this is the way this country was supposed to be operating, and the Emergency Banking Act is the area in law that describes in great detail exactly all the ins and outs of how it's supposed to be working. The problem is that it's not only the few of us that know how the system works can actually make it work that way. And then you say to yourself, well, the whole economy is going to explode if we don't. I don't know about that, bro, because it's going to free everybody up. You don't know that. It's going to free everybody up. It's going to be a socialist republic, basically, where the government pays for everything, sort of. The government doesn't actually pay for anything, though. You're paying for it. All they're doing is just converting your promissory note to a different kind of promissory note. So you could back up and say, hey, when we all learn about how this whole promissory note system is bullshit and how every single type of promissory note is all equal in the law, I'll just start fucking taking anybody's promissory note. Let's just cut the fucking Federal Reserve right out of the picture. I don't know what's going to happen.
All right. Well, on that, I'll push back on that a little bit, because I think we do have some historical precedents for what happens in the situation as you're describing. And I'll use, King Mansa Musa as an example. He was an African king, probably one of the wealthiest people to ever have lived, trillionaire, basically, by the current, by the times. And this was an African king that at some point went to Europe, and he went there with, a literal fuck ton of gold, let's call it that, right? And this guy went to all these impoverished European little villages and started handing out bars of gold to peasants that have never even seen that much gold in their lives. And all of a sudden, something that was so incredibly valuable, everybody had such an abundance of it that it became essentially useless. And this is an example of inflation, right? If everybody has their house stacked to the brim with gold, well, then it's not really exchangeable to anybody else because they don't need your gold, they have their own. So in the situation you're describing, if everyone has access to unlimited money and everyone is paying taxes or everyone's not paying taxes and nobody is actually paying for anything, they're just discharging it to the US corporation, at some point you're going to have massive inflation. That money's not going to be worth anything anymore. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but the thing is that the beauty of this situation, and we're getting way off on a total. This is so speculative. We're out in like La La Land. We're like jacked out of the universe here. We're so far out of who knows, right? But the thing is,
I disagree. I think we can point to some specific things here.
Now hold on. That what you're saying is true, but who cares? If a sandwich is
hold on now. You can't just say who cares.
Hold on. If a sandwich is $10,000, and all you have to do is just sign a piece of paper that says, I promise to pay $10,000 at some point in the future. And then next week, that same sandwich is $100,000. And you have to print out that piece of paper and you sign that same paper. Then the next week, that same sandwich is $14 million. Why do you give even the slightest fuck about the price of the goddamn? Yeah, I mean, look at prices anymore. I don't care. I like the color of this one. Oh, it's $23 trillion. I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, fucking hook it up. Where's the keys at? Who cares?
Because the reason I care, Brandon, is because that's how an economy works. There has to be something backing up the currency. If nothing is backing up the currency, then it's not worth anything. We could look at tons of examples of countries that have gone into massive inflation.
It doesn't need to be worth anything.
Probably the most recently would be, Venezuela, maybe I mean, heck, you could go back to, Germany in the 1930s. Their money was worth nothing. They were using it to stuff the walls. And it's like, yeah, if a sandwich costs $14 million and that doesn't matter because you can just sign a piece of paper that says there's your $14 million, I'm saying that's not how any of this works, man.
Well,
That's
that is
not how
that is
any
how
of
it
this
works.
works.
That is how it works.
But
just
it's
that-
not. That's not how it works today. It's not how it works for anybody other than the small minority of people. Even yourself, you're saying that a lot of this stuff is still untested or unproven.
No,
So it's
no,
like
no.
you're postulating this hypothetical situation
Whoa,
in,
hold on,
in
there,
which, well, hold on, I'm still
No.
talking. Just give me a second
No,
to finish my point,
You're
please.
saying that it's
Can I
all,
make my point?
You're degrading the absolutely wonderful successes that we've had in this area. Successes
Well, hold
that I've
on.
worked
Now you're
very
hold on.
hard
Let me
to
make my
get.
point. You're putting words in my mouth.
Okay.
That's not what I'm doing. Don't say I haven't degraded anybody in this conversation.
Well, that
What I'm
was a little
saying-
bit. You're like, oh, it's still under research, blah blah. Bro, I just discharged $400,000.
Well, hold on,
Like,
hold
you wanna
on. I'm
discharge
only
$400,000?
I'm only reiterating what we have already agreed upon,
All
which
right,
is that
all
there
right.
are certain aspects of this that you have still not fully figured out, and that you are still doing ongoing research. You yourself earlier in this conversation agreed with that.
Yeah,
Just
I can
restating
piss
that.
gold. I just can't shit it out. So yeah, okay, fine. That's fine. Great. It's a little bit
Okay.
irritating. I'm over here working my ass off. I spent over $110,000 on this, and you're like, oh, like, bro, okay, good. I can fucking discharge millions, trillions, billions of dollars, and the only part of it that I haven't completely fucking mastered is to keep the accounts open month after month after month, and I'm going to crack that son of a bitch open like a fucking egg in the next 2 months. And you talk like I'm like fucking like
Well,
maybe
hold on
in
now,
10 years
because
you'll see
you
some
already
results.
said. You already said that you've discharged accounts and had them kept open, but now you just said
Yes.
you haven't accomplished that.
No,
So you just contradicted yourself.
No, I'm being very conservative. I'm not going to sit here.
No.
and tell
Hold on. You said that
No,
earlier
no,
in this
no.
conversation.
Hey,
It's recorded, Brandon.
Yes.
You
yes.
said that in this conversation you have discharged debts, kept the loans open, discharged them over and over and over again, but you just said you haven't done that.
No.
So which is it?
So here, it's I don't one off, and you can agree with this. I know you're going to be the first one to agree with this. A one-off success is a one-off success.
But that's not what you claimed, Brandon. You said you've done it multiple times over and over and over,
We
no
have
problem.
done it multiple times, and we have done it
But
over
you
and over
just
and over
said
again.
that you haven't. You just said you haven't done that.
In my head, I would like to have more examples of us achieving the full purpose of what we want to do before I'm going to sit here and say, oh, this is all worked out. It's all perfect. It's all the greatest thing in the world. But technically speaking, yes, what you just said has happened. Yes, factually speaking, it has happened. In my mind, I would like to see more of it happen before I'm going to go and necessarily blast every single fucking trumpet from here to New Zealand about it. That's what I'm trying to say.
But Brandon, you're already doing that across multiple platforms.
No, but this is like, dude, this is nothing, bro. Like, you just wait. Like, this is like a whispering church mice compared to where this shit's going, bro. This is like, you have no idea, bro. Canada's blowing up, New Zealand's blowing up, Australia's blowing up. Like, you have no idea, bro. Like, this is some low level shit we're at right now. Let me tell you.
Well, hold on. You're changing the topic and the nature of the conversation right now. I'm saying that you just said that you have not succeeded in discharging a debt and keeping it open. You just said that.
No. I have not succeeded to the quantity that I would like to see success in this area prior to like really fucking jutting my chest out like I do with citizenship and taxes. These are things that, bro, like I'll whip my dick out all day long. But this particular thing, it's like, okay, I can drive the car. Yes, I can drive the car. Yes, I can get the car across town. But there's a part of me that's like, Brandon, drive the car for a little while, get the car across town, and get some other people driving some cars across town before you whip your dick out all day long. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, all right. So you do want other people to do this then?
It's not that I want other people to do this. I could give
You
a
just
fuck
said
less.
that.
No, I did not.
You
I
said
don't
you
give a
want
fuck.
you want to have other successes with this before you go around telling people to do this.
I want other
so
people.
with who?
I want other people who voluntarily, openly view the educational material, who on their own determinism and idea would like to go down this road, educate themselves, and then practice it, and then have successes on their own with my assistance as an attorney in fact or agent.
Okay, so until that occurs, until you have actual proof and you're 100% sure that this works, why are you telling people about this?
Well,
What's if you're not
have
if you're
proof.
not telling people to do this and you're not
We
and
do
you're
have
not
proof. We do
Okay,
have
well,
100% proof. 100%.
hold on.
Not 99. Not 99. We have
Hold on.
100% proof.
You just said you don't have enough proof to be sure, and that you want to
I
have
didn't
more
say
evidence.
that.
You just
Didn't say
said that.
Nope, did not say
Brandon, you literally just said, I want to
I
have more
said-
cases of this before I go around telling people that this is completely factual and I've got it and this is all buttoned
So
up
I'm
and
going to
totally
say it
perfect.
again. I'm going to say it again. Before I go blasting trumpets from here to New Zealand, I would like to have some more cases of this situation being successful. Yes.
Okay. And how are those cases going to come about?
They're going to come about. We have 80 million people sending shit in right now because I just released the Infinite Money video explaining how to do a restricted
80
endorsement.
million people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
No,
we
I'm
have
sorry.
122 people in this audience.
850 trillion people are doing this right now.
Okay. That's a bit, bigger number. There's a rookie
So-
number. We got to bump those up, right?
So the Infinite Money video. Now you got to keep in mind, I've been researching this financial Infinite Money thing for probably about 8 or 9 months, and I've been very, very quiet about it. And the reason why is because it's just one of those areas that people kind of lose their mind and shit, right? People get fucking totally crazed. They got like fucking crazy eyes, and they go. Ah. So I've been very slow to release a lot of this information, right? And it was on. I wasn't even planning. It just kind of was on a show, and it just kind of came up, and I just kind of roll with it. On August 5th, it's 21 days ago, is when I released the How to Have Infinite Money and How to Have Your Own Nation video on YouTube, and then it was probably about 4 days later. Let me see. It was on the George Martinez video showing the example of the account that was discharged and then stayed open to be continually used and discharged again, was released on the following day, August 6th, 2023. So this is new. This is very, very new. That's why I'm telling you, like, that's why I'm saying the trumpets from here to New Zealand thing. It's like, we've got a lot of fucking people, bro. These two videos have sparked a massive catalyst chain reaction of people sending shit in. Now, watch those videos, and you tell me, did I ever once tell anybody to send in jack shit? And the answer you're going to find is the answer is no. It's what did George send in? What did you write, George? What did you say when they called you, George? Wow, how interesting. Here's some of the experiences that I've had. If you want to do this, fuck off. Go fuck yourself. That's all my whole brand.
Yeah, so on that point, Brandon, I'll come back to my initial statement, the first thing you brought up, which is I think this is harmful and destructive. And it's for that exact reason that I think this is harmful and destructive. You're saying you're putting out all this content, but then here you're saying, well, I'm not really telling people to do this. I'm telling them to go fuck themselves. And if they want to do it, they can, but it's really nothing to do with me. And if they screw it up, it's their own fault, and I'll take no responsibility for it whatsoever. That's what I think is harmful and destructive about this. If what you're saying turns out to be not correct, or if what you're saying turns out to be illegal, then you're not going to take responsibility for the people's lives who you have harmed by promoting to them to do this.
Now, with that said, even if I didn't even say anything against that, let's say yes. Let's say I just said fine, whatever. Now, at this point, it would be the burden of evidence falls on the prosecution. So you saying such a thing, the burden of evidence would now fall on your doorstep to now produce evidence showing the fact that my actions have directly harmed someone and I have not taken responsibility for that. Now, let me tell you, in a movement this big, going on 2 years, year and a half, that should be pretty fucking easy, Yeager. That should be pretty fucking easy, brother. Easy pickings, brother. Easy pickings, brother. Just throw a rock, you'll hit somebody, right?
Okay, so have you had anybody who's been threatened with lawsuits, had their cars repossessed, been told that their bank, that they're going to get their house taken away from them? Do you know of anybody that's happened to?
Not directly from my actions, no. You also got to think too, a lot of people reach out to me when they're already in that situation. That's not my responsibility. But has that happened?
Well, let me
to
ask
people?
this. If somebody reached out to you and said, hey, Brandon, I just finished your contract killer course. I did all the stuff that you said is the best practices. And now my house is gone, my car is gone, and I'm being sued and this, that, and the other thing.
I would probably
You take no responsibility for that.
I don't know what I would do in that situation. It depends on many different factors. But again, the burden of proof would rely on the prosecution. You would have to produce that evidence, and then I would defend that evidence after produced. You're asking me to defend.
All right, but in the meantime,
No,
the guy doesn't have a house or a
you're
car or a home, and he's being
Hold on.
sued.
you're manufacturing a completely false reality, or not false, but you're manufacturing this what if, Brandon, you were driving your car at 65 miles an hour in a 40 and you hit 17 kids and they all died. They were ripped in half and there was guts from here all the way to the next zip code. Bro, like, what is this, bro? A judge would throw you out and fucking laugh at you. They'd be joking about you for 20 years.
That's a bit of an overstatement what I said. I said, you yourself have already said that you were threatened with legal action as a result of you doing this. Now, you said that you had it all settled and put away, but we've already established that that is something that can happen. So it is something that can happen to the people that are doing what you're telling them to do.
I'm not telling people to do anything.
Okay, what you are stating they could do if they want to.
Yes, thank you. That is correct.
All right. So if you did not have, if you never put anything out about this and you never said anything about it, a person, yes, this is hypothetical. I'll agree on being hypothetical, but somebody who has only found out about this because of your content wouldn't have found out about it and wouldn't have done it and wouldn't have gotten themselves into legal trouble. So I'll reiterate the question again. And this, what would have to happen to show you that this is not the right thing to do? What would have to happen to make you back away from this and say, this was a mistake, I shouldn't have done this? Like factually, what would have to happen?
Out of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. It's not just me doing this, by the way. I'm like just one guy. There's a lot of this shit happening right now. It's fucking massive. So out of the hundreds of thousands of people, not just in my movement, but in the collective whole of all the people that are coming across this information in all the different various areas, whether it be cars, whether it be financials, promissory notes, whether it be citizenship and nationality, or any of the other areas that this has a tendency to touch the lives of, I would need to see like a vast percentage of those people running into very serious difficulties. And as of right now, for example, on my website a long time ago, you can go on the time machine and you can pull up a version of my website from maybe 7 or 8 months ago. There was an admonishment clause that I had at the top of my state national theory page. And it said on there like, yo, you need to be careful with this. This is fucking crazy. Like, don't just fucking get into this and start going fucking berserk. If you don't want to spend 500 to 1,000 hours on this, just read it as a passing curiosa and move on with your life. Don't bother. Don't even get involved, right? Now, a year of me actually sitting down, or not sitting down, but like experiencing all of these different things. I get like 100-something messages a day, bro. Emails, social media, phone calls, texts. It's like probably 100 a day, right? All these different court cases, all these different things and repos and all this kind of stuff, all these different situations that all these people have. And I'm telling you, like, I have seen literally like almost zero real connection between somebody doing some of this stuff and then having actual problems legally. Now, with that said, if someone's already involved in a lawsuit or being threatened with a lawsuit, and then they take action and then the lawsuit still occurs, that you can't directly relate the action that was taken to the lawsuit. They've already threatened the lawsuit, okay? So if a person's already been threatened with a repo and then they take some of my information at the last second because they piece it together because they're fucking frantic, retarded people, they're children as per the law, and they mail some fucking random shit in, and then the repo that they had originally said they were going to do, they now do, no one is going to point the finger at me and say that my paperwork had absolutely anything to do with their car being repossessed. Their own activities and their own life choices and the things that they have done in their own life, their lack of communication, lack of understanding, and lack of proper action is the actual source of why that car was repossessed.
All right. Well, let me give you a real specific example. All right. So this is from the United States Attorney Office. The United States Attorney's Office website. Mm-hmm. This was a case in South Carolina, and says United States Attorney Sherry A. Lydon announced today that Ronald Allen Wright, age 53, of Columbia, was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison after a jury found him guilty of tax fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. His convictions stemmed from the false and meritless ideologies whereby individuals argued that they are not subject to the laws of the United States of America and that debts can be discharged by accessing secret government bank accounts. It also says, this is a quote from the attorney, it says, "We continue to see the negative consequences of participating in fraudulent debt elimination tactics," said Matthew D. Line, special agent in charge of the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit. "Today's sentence is a positive message to honest taxpayers and further exhibits that the IRS, U.S. Attorney's Office, are duty-bound to protect the integrity of the U.S. tax administration system and to make sure everybody complies with their tax obligations." So that is pretty hard evidence that you can go to jail for this. You can be convicted of wire fraud and tax fraud, and per this is a fraudulent debt elimination tactic.
So what year was that court case?
2019.
Okay, so in the past many years or several years, with all the hundreds of thousands of people doing this, you have successfully located and read a very
Okay,
small
here's another
portion
one.
of one
Jury
court
from
case.
2020. A man who claimed his status as a state national made him exempt from obeying the law will spend the next 9 years in federal prison for illegally carrying a gun. This guy was sentenced to 110 months in federal prison for the possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Same logic, same ideology. Michael Williams ludicrously claims that the laws of the United States don't apply to him.
Hold on.
His
There's
phony
so much
legal
to...
status won't keep him from being
hold on.
held accountable for violating those laws, and his sentence should warn any other play-acting state nationals to abandon such legalistic charades. Williams, who had a previous federal felon... Let me just finish reading it, dude.
Okay,
It's not
okay.
over.
Okay.
It says this case involves an illegally possessed firearms in the hands of a criminal, assistant special agent in charge of Atlanta Field Division of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. It demonstrates the cooperation that exists between the Savannah Police Department and the ATF. So these are just two examples, but I can bring up hundreds of examples. You can go on the DOJ's website and see all these. Okay.
If this was a court case and you were presenting this as evidence during, let's say, discovery, my immediate response was I would have a litany of questions. The first many questions I would have is there are a lot of people who do not have any documentation at all whatsoever. In fact, they have a U.S. passport and they said yes to driver's license U.S. citizen, and they've got all these U.S. citizen penalty under perjury signatures all over the place, and then they have a prior conviction, a felony, like this guy, and then he's walking around with an unserialized firearm, creating troubles with the police, obviously to get into a situation where he's being searched and to find said firearm. So yes, there is a series of very bad mistakes that a person may make. Now, if I were to ask in discovery, and I were to say, I'd like to see evidence of this particular individual or any of these three particular individuals, I want to see evidence of all of their passport records. I want to see evidence of their DS-11 form. I would file for FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, for all of that information. What is his driver's license signature? I want to see a copy of his driver's license card. I want to see copies of any recent tax returns. I want to see where he signed, how he signed. I want to get his DS-11 form. Almost nobody knows anything about the explanatory statements that you can even do that. So I would ask, like, hey, if there's any explanatory statement that was attached to the DS-11 form, please give me a copy of that as well. I want a FOIA request on that. I would collect together all this information, and I guarantee you $1 billion, all the money in the world, which doesn't really matter because you can just fucking restrictively endorse anything anyways, that these people, not only did they not have their paperwork in order, but it was fucking awful. And I talk about that in my course. I talk about that in my material. They're probably not just a little bit off the mark. What happened was they got arrested. And then at that point, kind of like that guy that you saw recently, that guy who drove over all those people, and then he started doing some of this stuff, and then they called him a sovereign citizen and all this kind of stuff. What happens is these people, they've already done all this illegal shit.
Well,
they've already filed themselves as a U.S. citizen.
Let's talk about...
Then they get in trouble, and then at the last second, they're like, oh, I'm going to try this fucking out and see what fucking happens. Then the media takes that example and then uses that example to shut down the movement. It's a PR attack campaign. Now, again, we are off on... Do you know the answer to any of these questions? Do you know the answer to his status on his DS-11 form? Do you know the answer to... If you don't know the answer,
yes,
these
I'll
court
answer the
cases
question.
wouldn't matter. Okay, good.
Here we go. This is what it says. This is the Ronald Allen Wright, 53, was sentenced for fraud, tax fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. According to the information presented during his trial and sentencing, Wright was the owner of, quote, Money Solutions, unquote, a Columbia-based financial service business. Between 2013 and 2015, Wright targeted multiple individuals, some elderly, who were experiencing financial difficulty. Wright Wright especially pursued those going through foreclosure on their homes and contacted many of them through churches and other faith-based organizations. Wright claimed that he knew a method whereby individuals could eradicate their debts by making financial claims against their contracts. Wright told his customers that these monetary claims against the contracts could then be used to satisfy the debts. That is exactly what you're doing.
Well, no, well. Now, hold on a second. I mean, yes, to some degree, but again, like
To 100%.
if this was no,
That's
'cause
it's verbatim.
No,
what
hold
you're
on.
doing.
No, it's absolutely not. Because the thing is that you can restrictively endorse an instrument very, very, very wrongly, very wrongly. Now, if you restrictively endorse an instrument incorrectly, is that a valid instrument? Are you sending them a valid instrument for payment?
But you're not taking responsibility for that, Brandon. You're saying, oh, it's on them. I'm just putting out all this information, and if they screw it up, well, that's on them, not my fault. Do you not see how that's harmful?
But how? Okay, so that means that everything that you do with every single person for the entire rest of your existence, you are now a slave to their stupidity and incompetence.
That's not what I said at all. I said you are putting out information that, if done slightly wrong, could be incredibly detrimental to these people's lives, and you're taking no responsibility for that. But you just said these people are retards.
Now,
and that they screw up all the time.
Well, yeah, but that's just...
But come on, man.
That's just kind of like...
You can't... Every time you keep moving the goalpost. Every time I corner you on something, you say, no, that's not what I said. I didn't say that. It's like, yes, you did.
So
You've been saying the same thing the whole time.
So if I'm not charging people, and I'm doing everything for free... People. Well, now I am, as of like literally a week ago, and I haven't made any money from it yet either. So I'm not charging people. I'll go back to that. So since I'm not charging people, the thing is that we have a situation where what you're saying is you should not only do everything that you're doing for free, but you should run after and rush after every single person. And you're not saying this exactly, and I understand that, but there is an element of what you're saying is that you are completely responsible, even though you've never gotten paid for absolutely anything you're doing, for all of the possible misapplications and fuck-ups, and the people who are actually applying the information do not have any responsibility. But you, Brandon, giving away everything for free, should be latched down, enslaved, and you should have a collar around your throat. And I'm going to point my finger at you and say, you motherfucker, this fucking dumbass piece of shit way out here in Alabama who has an IQ of 40, who's legally retarded as per the definition, sent in some fucking paperwork and she got in trouble for it. That makes you a fucking bad person. You're a bad person. You're not taking responsibility.
That's not what I'm saying.
So okay. So let's go into this in great detail. Let's talk about where is the goalpost exactly, factually, and mechanically. I'm curious.
Well, I'll give you a specific example, okay? What I'm saying, like all that stuff those words you put in my mouth, that's not what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. I'll state it very clearly.
I'll admit that, but that's kind of what I'm getting from it. So you please clarify. Where is the goalpost? Let's talk about the word responsibility.
Okay.
Let's talk about
What I'm saying is that you should be responsible for what you are putting out to the world. If somebody goes onto a platform and spouts, trying to use a non-controversial, well, let's just say, to just make it really stupid simple, let's say that you live in a neighborhood and you have a blog and everybody reads your blog and you don't like your neighbor Joe and you put up something that says, fuck Joe, I'd kill him if I could, right? Mm-hmm. And you go, well, and then somebody reads that, gets all upset, goes and kills Joe. And you say, oh, well, I didn't tell him to go kill Joe. I just said I would kill him if I could. That's not the same thing at all. But you have to be responsible for what you're putting out there in the world and how people are going to respond to it. That's like just basic decency. You can't promote something that could potentially be harmful to people and then take no responsibility for any harm that comes of it. I mean, you can, but it's not a. That's what I'm saying. It's harmful and destructive to people. You can do that. I just don't think it's a good thing to do.
It's very, very simple. I would just say, show me the body, and I'll handle it.
What do you mean by that?
Show me the body. I'll handle it. I'll make it right. I don't know what I'll do. I would take responsibility for a situation like that. That's a very extreme example. I don't feel like it has anything to do with what I'm doing. Now, also keep in mind,
so then I'll make it more pertinent.
I get a lot of information from a lot of people, and some people do have some difficulties. They don't get in any like crazy legal trouble like we're talking about, but they do have some difficulties. We have some passports that are disapproved and stuff like that. It's very rare. But the thing is that what I do is I take that information and then I create new content. I may help a little bit where I can. It's not like I just ditch these people or whatever. But again, I am doing everything for free. I'm no slave to nobody, right? Now, the thing is that I might take all that information and then I might do additional research and then create additional content. You have to realize I'm creating content all the time, and you got to think to yourself, well, where is this endless amount of content? This guy goes on live shows like this two times a week on average for the past year. Plus, he's got a 24 hours worth of a contract killer course. Plus, he's got an entire book's worth of information on his state national theory page. He's rewritten the theory page, probably 45 times, A to Z. You got to think to yourself, like where is all that content coming from? And then it's also like a goalpost thing, like I was saying earlier. I feel like my responsibility is that I'm learning. You're learning. I'm taking the information that I'm getting from people. I'm making adjustments. I'm releasing new information as fast as I can. I've spent over now it's probably like $115,000 of my own money out of my own pocket. I'm not charging anybody. Like, what the fuck do you want from me, bro?
But you are charging people, Brandon. I get
I
you haven't
just
charged
started.
them
I
yet,
haven't
but
made
you
any
intend
money.
on charging them.
As
Okay,
of
but
right
you intend
now,
on charging them.
$0.
You have a website that says, "Give me $1,000 and I'll send a letter to your apartment complex."
At this point in time, right now, us speaking on this thing where evidence is required for what you're talking about, there has been no money exchange for these various
Okay,
things.
but can you agree that you intend to charge people money? Yes. Okay.
So you're telling
at
me that because
point,
I have
when
an
you start
intent
doing that,
in the future, I'm now guilty of not being responsible.
No, I'm saying you are responsible for your actions, Brandon, and your actions could be potentially harmful to people. Like, come on, man.
My actions have been, quote, if that's true, my actions have been, quote, potentially harmful for a year and a half. So let me ask you a question. If something is so terribly dangerous and so terribly potentially harmful, do you feel that there would be at least one case that would be very, very easy for you to produce, that in a year and a half you can show me evidence of someone who fits that category? A year and a half.
Yes, I think it would be easy if I had access to every single person who has looked at your content and tried to apply it.
It's all on my social media. Go
no,
find
it's not,
one.
Brandon. That is a curated example. You're taking anecdotal information and testimonials from people saying, "Oh, I did this and I did that."
Then go in Telegram groups that I'm not even involved in. There's tons of them. Everyone's talking about me. Go look on other. I don't care, bro. It's been a year and a half, Yeager. If you can't find one,
so is your position that if I
moot.
find one, you'll agree? If I can find an example, you'll agree?
If you can find, a solid 5 to 10% of people that are actually
okay, so now you move the
action.
goalpost again, Brandon. You just said I couldn't find one. I say, okay, let me go find one. You're like, no, now it needs to be 5 to 10%.
Go find one. No, hold on. I said go find one, and then your question was how many? If I find one, will that be enough for me to like stuff it in your face, or you to change your mind, or whatever it is that you're? So you're talking about action or change. I'm talking about just find one. I'm not even. There's no condition. It's a conditionless request. Just find one.
If I had access to everyone that's ever looked at your stuff and everyone who's ever done something with it, then perhaps I could find one. I don't have access to that information.
Yes, you can,
I'm saying that the responsibility.
You can go into any Facebook group. You can go into any Telegram group. I have been mentioned. You can type in my name. You will find information about me probably damn near everywhere.
Okay, but those groups are not representative of the entire whole. They are a section of it. They're just a slice of it. And the only people that are posting stuff on social media are posting their testimonials of their successes. Those are not.
We do have. I mean, seriously, I don't go through. I mean, if someone's going to post something, I had a problem with this. You do see some of that. It's not necessarily in relation to everything that I do. I'm not going through the comments and deleting things, and you can find anything. I'm telling you, I don't go through and do that. I don't do that at all. I don't care. I really don't care. When I tell you I don't care, like I'm telling you, I really don't give a fuck, bro. Like I really don't care. So if you want to go through, if you want to go through the fucking all my social media and you want to look and you want to go and find all sorts of different things and this and that, it's like, all right, but like, dude, you got to realize there is a fuck ton of people involved in this right now, and I'm telling you, the percentage of people that you are going to find is going to be massively low percentage. And to tell you the truth, for anyone to do anything and have and take action and to say, oh, I'm packing it up, boys, over 0.001% is a fucking child or retard. And they should have a fucking attorney representing them in a court of law. That's pathetic. That's so sad.
Man, I mean, it sounds like anybody that disagrees with you is a child or a retard.
Anyone who would make a decision based off of 0.00% A scientist, hey, a scientist, a politician, a religious person, anybody would make a decision based off of 0.001% is
But
a
it's not
fucking child or retard.
0.001%.
It is.
It's not.
You can't
It's
even give
not.
me one, Yeager. You didn't even show
I
up to
gave
a
you
fucking
two.
debate
I gave
with
you
one.
two examples.
No, from
Brandon.
me,
I just
bro.
gave you
From
two
me.
examples.
No, from
oh,
me.
from you specifically. I don't have
Yes.
access to your information.
Oh
you're
my
saying go on
God.
your Telegram.
You could have
Okay, so
gone
if I go on your
anywhere.
Telegram and
You
start
could have gone
asking these
anywhere.
people,
No.
hey,
No,
have
you
you
could
guys
go anywhere.
everyone had success with this?
You could go anywhere. You could go
Well,
anywhere.
how about
You
this,
didn't even
Brandon?
need to go
Why
on
don't-
my material?
You know, I would say this, Brandon. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me to find someone who's followed your program.
You are getting way off the deep end here, my friend. The burden of proof falls on the prosecution, my friend. 100%.
Bro, we're not. This is not a fucking lawsuit.
Yes, it is.
You're not
Yes,
a
it
lawyer.
is. We're talking about law. I'm an attorney in fact. Yes, I am.
You are not.
Yes, I am.
You're not an attorney. Actually,
go
you know what?
report
Let's go
me.
back. No,
Go
let's go
report
back
me,
to that.
Yeager. Go
Let's go
report
back
me.
to that.
Go report me.
You are not.
Go report me. Go report me. Go report me to every fucking agency, every single one. I will take all the reports. If I get copies of them, send me copies. I will put them up on my website and laugh about it. Write me up.
Great.
Send
All
the
right.
reports. Send the reports. Do it. I will turn that shit into a press release, bro. I will mail that shit to the fucking newspapers.
Look, dude. The point I'm making here is, per even your own words, you're not 100% sure about all of this. So if there's even a,
There
let's
are
call it a
certain
10%.
things-
Let's
No,
call
no,
it a
no.
10% chance. Hold on.
No.
Let's call it a 10% chance that
This
some
is
of what you're
totally
doing
generic.
cannot be proven.
Totally broad, generic statement. We have a lot of different areas here that we're talking about. A lot of
All right. Well, let's take
completely
something specific then. Let's take the
sectionalized.
unlimited money.
Okay.
Okay. Let's take that.
And that's very
let's take
new,
the
very
discharge.
new.
No. Hold on. What I
Okay.
mean by that is the discharging of debt,
Which
and
is
then
very
keeping
new.
the account open
Okay,
and
21
discharging it
days old.
again.
Yep.
No. Hold on.
21
You
days
said multiple times in this conversation that you have had success with that. You've said you've discharged your own
We
debt.
have.
You said you discharged
Yes.
other people's debt,
We have,
and that
yeah.
it's kept open.
Yes, we
So
have.
you've only had success with that in the last 21 days.
Yes. Well,
Well, you've been promoting that for the last 8 months.
My
Oh, yes. Well, now
no.
it's no.
No. My success, yes. With other people specifically, no. Not from me directly, because I like to test things on myself first. I think that's, again, being responsible, and I think you'd agree with that. I tested all the stuff on myself first, had success before I started doing it with other people. So yes, I've had tons of success myself. I've discharged everything under the sun, moon, and stars. You said me absolutely anything, it's fucking gone, vanishes. I have so many fucking examples that blow your brains out. Now, in terms of other people specifically, yes, it's been mainly the past 21 days because, like I already told you, Yeager, I've been very, very quiet about this particular subject because people go fucking absolutely ballistic about this particular subject. A lot of people have a lot of financial difficulties, and they start
Brandon,
hearing
you've
about
been on
this
podcasts
information.
by your own words twice a week. You have a website.
Yes.
You have multiple websites.
Yes.
You've been the opposite of quiet about this, Brandon.
But not on this subject, though, Yeager. You seriously, I'm not fucking with you, bro. Like, when it comes to restrictively endorsing instruments, you can ask anybody, bro. I've been pretty quiet about this up until 21 days ago. I really have.
But
Seriously.
Brandon, you've been talking about discharging debt for over a year.
Well, that's a completely different style of discharge. Well, no, seriously.
Okay, so then the
there's
goalpost
multiple
keeps
ways of
moving. It's
doing
all,
this.
it's
No.
all. None of it actually
You're
works.
saying
Then,
it's
like,
all the
you
same
see what I'm
thing?
saying, dude?
You're
Like,
saying it's all the same thing. You're saying all these things are all the same thing. It's because you're lacking knowledge of the situation. They're not all the same thing. It's not all the same thing. You're
okay, but you
amalgamating
keep
everything.
shifting
You keep
what is actually
amalgamating
a
everything
success.
Because
Brandon,
because
we have to look like there is
the
a cohesive
goalpost has
whole here.
moved. The goalpost
Yeah.
has moved. I have moved the goalpost myself. I achieved the first goal, which was to discharge. The first thing I ever discharged was a long time ago. It was like fucking April or May of last year. It was an insurance audit that had gone to litigation, and I got rid of that shit real fucking fast. Discharged, fully repaid. Didn't even go on my credit report. Then at that point, the goalpost moved. I was very nervous. It was very sloppy. The actual original paperwork that I did to do that first discharge, I did a video on it. It is part of my free course. I think it's on video number 16. The second time was when I went to bat as a big boy, and that was when I did my Amex cards for 177,000 plus. Okay, that one I did a completely different sort of style of discharge. Okay, it was sort of similar, but it was different. That one was wildly successful right out the gate. Everything was discharged. Then they reported the debt as unpaid. Then I did additional paperwork to the credit bureaus to have those removed, and then I got all that removed, and then I did additional paperwork to Amex to reopen the accounts, and that has been an ongoing process. And now I'm learning the litigation process because I'm about ready to actually start doing litigation to force American Express to reopen the accounts that they had previously closed. So again, that point it was, let's discharge these amounts. Okay, that's done. Now we're going to move the goalpost to the next thing, which is now.
Okay, well, let me just define moving the goalpost, because you're not using that correctly.
These accounts have been closed. I don't want the accounts closed. It's illegal for them to close the account because I'm the source of credit. Now we're going to move the goalpost to the next level, which is now we're going to discharge these debts, and we're going to keep the accounts open month after month after month. Now we achieved that, and then I wanted to move the goalpost a little bit farther, which is now I have a new definition of success. I have a new definition of goalpost, which is not only are we going to have these debts discharged month after month after month, but we're going to give the credit card company limited power of attorney to do the restrictive endorsements of the bills of exchange on our behalf, so we don't need to do jack shit, fully automized infinite money. Now,
okay, I get all that. I get all that. But let me just define moving the goalpost, okay? Because I think we're using two different words here. So moving the goalpost means changing your argument over and over again to avoid conceding you might have been wrong. For example, I might say that Rocky was the best movie ever made. You might retort to say that Rocky does not even come close to the movie like Citizen Kane. Then I say, okay, yes, I meant that Rocky is the best color movie. Then but you reply, how about Shawshank Redemption? And I retort by saying, oh, I meant color movie that won Best Picture. Then yes, you reply saying, what about...
Look, yeah.
So what I'm saying, hold on, let me just finish. Let me just finish what I'm saying, Brandon.
We're talking about a subject that's 21 days old, bro. The goalpost has been moved in the past 21 days. So you say success and your definition of success. My definition of success has changed in the past 2 weeks. It has changed.
And that's the problem. That's the problem.
It's changed because we're having fucking success, Yeager. We fucking did it. How is that a fucking problem? How is that a fucking problem?
You're not letting me finish my point, so I can't explain it to you, Brandon.
Explain it. Explain how that's a problem.
All right, I'm trying to. I'm saying that moving the goalpost in this argument and in your presentation of your ideology is a problem, because you're saying we have success, we have achieved a success, and then earlier when I asked you about that, you say, well, that wasn't really a success because now the new success is this thing.
Yeah, the definition has changed. Yes, the definition has changed in the past 2 weeks.
You don't see a problem with changing the definitions of success, because something you said 2 months ago, or hell, something you said 3 weeks ago, is not what it means today. So if the definitions of things keep changing, you're the one that's definitions are so important.
No, there is no problem with that. Not only is there not a problem with it, but it's an absolute fanfare of success. The redefining of the word success means that the definition itself has expanded because we've already achieved that definition. So now thus we need to move on to the next goal, which is the next goal post, which changes the definition of success because we've already done this definition, and now we're up to this definition. So yes, not only is it amazing and awesome, it's something to be celebrated. The redefinition of the word success is the greatest fucking thing, Yeager, that's happened in the past 3 weeks. It's the fucking best. And you know what? I can't wait. I can't fucking wait to redefine it again. I'm going to have the veiniest fucking Snickers bar cock you've ever fucking seen in your entire life when I redefine success again. And I'm going to do it again and again, and I'm going to have a hard fucking
when you do
every single time.
When you redefine it, does every other one become a failure, like you stated earlier in this conversation?
No, they become a success, Yeager.
You said yourself that your discharging of your debt the first time when they closed your account, you said that was not a success.
It's not a success as per the newest definition, but it was a success.
Okay, so in 3 months, when the definitions changed again, then all of this won't be a success anymore.
It's not. That's a little bit harsh. I don't think of it that way. No, it's just that at that time we had a goal. When we met that goal, the definition of the success was to meet that goal. Now that
but you yourself have said that you haven't even met the goal well enough or enough to consider blasting it out over the trumpets, as you said.
Because we have a
so that's what I mean, Brandon. Like, yes, you're changing the definition. I'm saying, do you have enough success to feel confident about this? You said no to that question, and now you're saying we have so many fucking successes. I could whip my dick out and change the definition. I'll be so happy. It's like, what are you talking about, man?
No.
You keep changing your statements. Things. You keep changing what you're saying. Every time I corner you say that's not what I said. I didn't say that. It's like, yes, you did. The whole thing's recorded.
I've explained each definition of the success in relation.
Yeah, and they keep changing. The definitions keep changing,
and they will continue to change. They will
Look,
continue to
dude.
change.
Look,
They are changing, and they will continue to change. And if you have a
I
problem with that, then
understand
you have a
that you
lack of
think
ambition.
I understand that you think this all makes perfect sense, okay? I would say that I hope, if anything, in this conversation, that the 104 people, you said 5 to 20,000, I'd like to point out. There's 104 people here.
Well, we're gonna send it out on 20,000 people on the email list.
104 people. I hope that at least one of them looks at this and goes, maybe I should think about this a little more critically before I start sending off government documents to government agencies saying that I'm not a taxpayer and I'm not going to pay my loans and I'm not going to do this kind of thing. And all I'm saying, Brandon, is I think you should take a little bit of responsibility for the potential danger of the information you're putting out there. You've said multiple times yourself that you're not sure that all of this works. You said you've had some successes that then become failures because now it's a new success. And I'm just saying that goalpost will keep moving over and over and over again. And it's like, well, when do you actually get there?
And I'm gonna actually agree with you on this, and I'm gonna say to the audience something similar. You need to go and you need to research and you need to see all of the quantity and the quality of successes that we may be having, and not just me, but everyone as a whole. And you need to actually graph and say, okay, there's this many fucking this much quality and this much quantity of successes in these various areas that mean something to me. Then you need to go out and you need to find people who are having dismal failures, especially dangerous or harmful ones, because a lot of the failures that I've seen are just people getting disapproved for things. It's not really harmful. They're out of like nothing or a few $100. Like, I don't really consider that to be a very big deal. They should compare the quantity and quality of success to the quantity and quality of failure and harm. I think they should be very careful.
One quick thing
I
here.
think they should be very careful and define the definition of the word harm would not include a simple disapproval letter. If you send in something and you didn't even pay any money and they said, no, we're not going to do that, disapproved, how is that harmful? You're in the same fucking place you were before you sent the goddamn thing. How's that fucking harmful?
All right, I'll give you an example. Your definition in this of a success versus a failure is basically, is the person prosecuted? That's what you're saying.
No. Let's go even farther. I'm going to give you a bone on this one. I'm going to give you a bone on this one. I'm going to go even farther. Harm or harmful, by definition, would be the person emotionally, financially, physically, their status. I don't care. You plug something in there, is lower or degraded beyond where they started. So if you start here and you take action and then now you're here a little bit lower, by definition, I would define that as harmful in any area.
Okay. I think it would be pretty easy to give examples of that because, like I said, what you're doing and what you're promoting, people have been prosecuted for fraud. Now you're going to go, and if you want to go down that road, I'll bring you back on the show. You're going to compare the quality and quantity of people who fit that category versus the quality and quantity of people who have had success. Brandon,
I'll bring you back on the show. I'll bring you back on the show. I'll bring you back on the show. I'll bring you back on the show.
Great. I appreciate that. I will say that I don't think any amount of evidence that I could provide you is going to change your mind. I think you've made up your mind about.
You're saying the audience. You're saying the audience. Come back and present your case. If you sway the audience, who cares about me? You're trying to save the fucking poor audience. Oh, poor fucking stupid audience. They're going to go and fuck all this up and get prosecuted. Save them. Don't save me. I'm unsavable, my friend. I am an unsavable crusader of Christ. But look at all these fucking people.
Bro, I'm not trying to save you.
Come back. Come back on the show.
All right. Well, I appreciate the offer. And I would like to come back with some more information. I think that it could. Great. I will. Well, this has been a great talk. I really appreciate you having me on.
Sure thing.
I know we've disagreed on a lot of things, but man, I still feel the same way about you that I have. I like you. You're a good guy.
Thank you.
And I hope that, really, I do hope you have success with this, Brandon. I'm not rooting for you to get fucked up and go to jail.
No, I know.
Or for anybody in your audience to have that happen to them.
And you're concerned, and that's why you're even bringing this up. I understand that.
Yeah, and like hell, maybe I'm wrong. I can admit that. Maybe I'm wrong about all this. And in fact, if I am wrong, geez, that if all of this worked, I think that would be amazing. I just think it sounds too good to be true, man. And I just think
most people say that. Most people say that. It's not just you.
Yeah, well, because most things that sound too good to be true are. You know what I mean?
I don't
And
disagree with you either there. I don't disagree with you. I think most people, even people that are involved in what we're doing, would tell you they thought the same thing. I'll tell you what, Yeager, I have to go in just a minute, but I'll tell you this. I learned about this information in September of 2021. For 6 months, I was reading books. I bought all these books off the internet. I didn't tell fucking anybody, bro. I was like, this shit's so fucking crazy. I was doing quiet as fuck church mouse study, right? My business partner knew about it. Even my best friends didn't even know about it, bro. Dead serious. I didn't say a fucking word to nobody. They asked me, like, what's that book you're reading? I'm like, it's just a book about money. Like, I didn't even fucking literally. Then for the first 6 months, I didn't do nothing. I didn't say nothing. I just studied quietly. I didn't tell a fucking soul. But 2 years before that, I had a lady who I really respect, who I really love, was trying to tell me about it for 2 fucking years. And I was, it's too good to be true. It can't possibly be. This lady's fucking crazy. She's going to get arrested or shot. I thought the same thing for 2 years. And then I had a really big issue in my life that popped up. And I was like, holy fuck. And it was a very serious situation with the government agency. And I totally freaked out. And it kind of pushed me in that direction. And I needed a kind of an extreme, quick solution. And I got with this lady. And I was still super terrified. I mean, I remember the first time I went to her house, I was so fucking terrified, bro. Like, my whole body was like hot. And my vision, no joke, bro. I was so fucking terrified. My vision was fucking blurry, bro. Like, people sounded like she's like saying shit. It's like, it's like in a fucking, like, she sounded like she was like 90 yards away in like a fucking underwater cave, bro. And I'm like, I wasn't even gonna drive my car. I had to like go for a walk. I was so fucking terrified, bro. So 2 years in, I said, fuck that, fuck you, you're crazy. 6 months, studied quietly, didn't say a word. Then March 14th, 2022 is when everything got launched. And now I sound like I fucking got it all figured out, and I sound like the most confident guy in the world. Yeah, I am, because I've spent a billion fucking hours trying to learn all this shit and trying to fucking understand it. And through an immense amount of studying and focus and money, I have achieved a confidence. But dude, I'm telling you, that even when I first launched my website, I was kind of like, I didn't even release the Contract Killer course until July 2nd. It was all just text. I didn't even go on any shows. I wasn't doing nothing. So, you know, this has been a process. And everyone tells me that, oh, it's too good to be true. It's like, bro, like, I know, bro. I know. If there's one guy who knows, it's fucking me, okay? So, like,
I get it, man. Well,
I am
and
that
look,
guy.
let me just say, like, I can acknowledge you've put a hell of a lot of work into this. I won't refute that at all. You have, absolutely, you know. And to your credit, like, you have done a lot of research and you are continuing to do research. So I do want to credit you for that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want this to come across as I'm saying you're the biggest piece of shit in the world and this is all bad and wrong. Like, I think that your intention from all of this is to help people, and I can see that, and I hope that your good intentions continue on and are not impeded. But my concern is that they might be. That's what I'll say.
No, and I understand that. It looks like the recording stopped, and I literally have a call in 3 minutes, so I'm gonna let you go, bro. We're gonna have you come back on. It's probably when I release this video, it's probably just gonna like randomly cut off at some point. I don't know what happened. I didn't even notice it.
Well, I will say I did a screen share on my side. I don't know if it's actually recording all the audio and stuff, but if you have some missing pieces, I can probably fill in the gaps for you.
Awesome, my friend. Thank you so much. I will.
Okay, buddy.
I'll see what I got. Thank you so much, Yeager.
Have a good one, man. Bye.